It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Stacy has the week off, but Glenn Fleischman's here. He's always a lot of fun. He's joining Aunt Pruitt, Jeff Jarvis. There is a lot to talk about. The new bills or regulations in the EU and how they will affect Google, Apple, and all of big tech. That's going to be a big story, and there's a lot to talk about there. Why flat earthers are never going to change their mind, how they paint ceramics, and what to do about meat sweats. It's all coming up next. Yeah, I know. It's time for Twig.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twig.
This is Twig. This Week in Google, episode 671, recorded Wednesday, July 6th, 2022. The cake is a pie. This Week in Google is brought to you by Nomad. Go to nomadgoods.com/twig and use the promo code TWIG for 10% off your first purchase of any Nomad accessory. Nomad has Apple Watch straps, wireless chargers, ultra-durable cables, and more. Limited time offer. And by 8 Sleep. Go to 8sleep.com/twig for exclusive 4th of July savings through July 10th. And if you're listening after July 10th, use the same URL to check out the Pod Pro cover and save $150 at checkout. It's time for Twig This Week in Google, the show we cover everything but Google. Twitter, we're going to cover Apple today. We got a lot of good subjects. And we're very happy to say Glenn Fleischman is here, filling in for Stacy Higginbotham. Hello, Glenn.
Hello. You can't seem to get rid of me.
He was
keep showing up.
a star on Sunday's Twit, which was great fun. Thank you. And we've saved a few stories for your visit today. So, flong away. We also have, of course, Aunt Pruitt, hands-on photography. Hello, Aunt.
Hello, Mr. Laporte. Welcome back.
Community manager at the club. Thank you. And I do owe a thanks to Jeff Jarvis, who ran the show as a democracy last week. It's not that much of a democracy. But Benito has joined us as our board op. He's going to be. Are you going to be a predator, Benito? Or are you going to do all three: the editing, the producing, and the technical direction? Are you going to do all of that? Oh, not today. Just soon. So we welcome Benito. And Benito,
Benito got a thrown in the deep end last week.
Oh, he was here last week. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he was.
In the Jeff
By the way, I
Hawkins.
want to thank the folks out there who said nice things on Twitter about my week in Congress.
What was with the giant Cheeto, though? I heard about that.
That was amazing.
No, it was. So we have it in the rundown today too.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
We got all over the big story of the week, which is Tech After Row, and then we wanted a little lighter moment. So
Big
Taco
Cheeto.
Bell announced a 16 times larger Cheeto tostada.
Cheez-It, not Cheeto, I guess.
Cheez-It. Thank you. What am I saying?
Cheez-It.
Oh, yeah.
That would be
Cheez-It.
fun, though.
All right.
A 16 times larger Cheeto would be fun, too. You could float in the pool with it. Yeah.
Jeff, and I'll show you, Benito, when you play that. That Jeff is the Leonard Tao Professor for Journalistic and Innovation at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York. Perfectly performed by our choral group, who is now going out for cigarettes. We continue with the Boris Johnson watch. Alexander Boris to Feifel Johnson.
Oh, my gosh.
He says, I will not quit. So that's, I know we've lost all of our British viewers who are watching the tube, as they
He
say.
will fight on the benches. He will
I will fight
on
them on the benches. I will fight them in the bushes. I will fight them at 10 Downing parties.
Right.
Blood.
Right. He's putting the queen in an uncomfortable position, like some kind of chess player.
Oh, really? How does a queen get involved?
Well, there's this whole issue about dissolving parliament, which if he calls for the queen to do it, she has limited choices, and some of which could produce a constitutional crisis about the nature of the monarchy. So she probably won't, but it's it's a kerfuffle or an ado.
This happened in Canada, the prorogue.
Oh, yeah.
Which is to discontinue a session of Parliament without dissolving it. And I remember this was a big thing in Canada because the Queen is the titular head of the Canadian government as well.
Is she still?
Situation.
Yeah. It's
she got
a
removed in what,
commonwealth.
Jamaica?
Jamaica.
Australia?
She's got Jamaica. She's got Australia.
No, I think she's got
Aruba,
removed from a bunch of
Jamaica. Girl, I need a. Anyway,
Monarch.
Monarch.
Girl, I need a monarch.
We'll continue to follow
Singing
that
episode.
story. Although we will not show any videos of Queen Elizabeth and Paddington the Bear because this show is still held hostage by the
still is.
Studio Canal.
No.
Says, no, you may not show any videos of Paddington the Bear with that express
I'm
written
sorry.
condition
It's my fault.
of the Commissioner of Major League Baseball. I guess we'll do one Rose story, but just one, because it is still an issue, and Google has now said there is this data loophole about location. Developers can see where you are, so they're going to stop sending your visits to a variety of places, including abortion clinics. Stop recording those. It'll turn off the recording. And the developers apparently have an ability to see other apps on the phone. So this is a big deal. Google has allowed thousands of companies to monitor and sell personal data from Android smartphones. It took a further step on Friday to limit the smartphone data that could be used to police new abortion restrictions, automatically deleting location history on phones that are close to a sensitive medical location. But also, there's this issue of apps checking to see what other apps are installed. So I guess that's a little sensitive. I don't think they should have allowed in the first place. Google said, in March 2021, we announced we plan to restrict access to this permission so that only utility apps, such as device search, antivirus, and file manager apps, can see what other apps are installed on the phone. Collecting app inventory data to sell it or share it for analytics or ads monetization purposes has never been allowed. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen. They just, if we catch you. So, there you have it. Query all packages will be restricted from July 12th. The other big story, and this one I feel like we got to get the internet's lawyer on for this or something, but the EU has now approved two big regulations that will very much impact Google. The Digital Services Act
The Digital Markets.
The Digital Markets Act. There are two of them, DMA and DSA. The DMA is more about competition, and I think that's the one that's going to probably more affect Google, but Google will be affected by both of them. Says that digital service, quote, gatekeepers who break the laws for promoting competition. The law says these companies must obtain explicit consent to target ads based on personal data. That's, of course, completely undermines Google's model.
It undermines most media companies. It undermines most of the entire media business now.
It'll be interesting to see what Google does about this. It requires interoperability between messaging platforms. Of course, that's probably targeted at Apple's iMessage, which is very much a closed.
Well, also targeted at
Android
Facebook's,
messages.
at Meta's.
Facebook,
At Meta's too,
WhatsApp,
yeah. WhatsApp, yeah.
Although it's good for Meta. If WhatsApp can interoperate with Apple's messages, that's very good for Meta. Really, Apple has this monopoly on iPhones with messaging.
Highly complex.
Yeah.
to
It
execute.
also says that large platforms must let, and this affects Apple more than Google, because you can choose browsers on Android, let users select a browser, search engine, and personal voice assistant of their choice. Although Google is very much involved because Google pays, it is estimated, between $10 and $12 billion a year to Apple to be the default search engine on Safari on iPhones. Apple does not let any other browser use its own engine. You have to use WebKit, the Safari engine, on iPhone. So really, Safari has a monopoly on iPhone with everything but the UI. And you can change search engines, but as you know, the default is going to be always the dominant search engine. So Google pays a lot for that.
I think Apple's been quietly building a search engine too. Isn't that I mean, if I look at my logs on my server, I'll sometimes see massive queries from Apple addresses for various pages of sites that operate. So like so many things at Apple, they've got things in the lab that they roll out when they're convenient. And I think they've probably got enough storage and data capacity to run a search engine if they had to for their customers.
So you can have a robots.txt that will allow Apple visiting or block it. That's interesting. I haven't looked at my logs in a while.
I don't know. I sometimes see I have to. I have relatively low end server, virtual server. So occasionally people get out overzealous, and I have to put in some blocks. And I have software that's like, "Hey, Apple just requested 50,000 pages." And I'm like, oh, they probably to not be doing that.
I had no idea they were spidering. That's very interesting.
Well, did you know about? I didn't know about this. It's been around for a while. I didn't know about Common Crawl.
I do not know about Common Crawl. What is that?
CommonCrawl.org is an open crawl of the web. I'm not saying Apple's going to use that.
Anybody can access it.
But anybody can access it.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't this really interesting?
Yeah.
This is, because I've been playing a lot with GPT-3 and writing about Lambda and all of that. This is the kind of stuff you use as the...
for your data set.
The data set, right. Thank you. And so I'm not saying that's that, but crawling used to be this high art and difficult barrier to go over for functionality of other applications.
I think it's
such a big deal.
I think it still is. I think Google.
I think so. In
There's
general,
a reason
for the level of quality you get.
Yeah,
Yes,
there really are only two search engines, Google and Bing. Everything else is derivative. I mean, you can go to DuckDuckGo. They say
laughs. You said Bing
one and a half.
Just guffaws.
It was 1.5.
All right.
yeah. I always laugh when I hear Bing. He just came off Windows Weekly, so he has to suppress his natural view of the world.
Don't you have Jonathan Mann's Bing song just queued up to go at any time?
I should.
Come on.
Right.
One of his song a days.
Bing, bing, bing goes the internet.
It would be meaningless if it weren't the default search engine in Microsoft Windows. And I think because, again, the tyranny of the default, people don't change things. Bing is still pretty important. It's not. I mean, you know what? Google does not want Bing not to succeed because that's the same reason Microsoft wanted
antitrust
Apple around.
stuff.
Yeah. Google can credibly say, "Oh, we're not a monopoly, Your Honor."
Okay.
Even in the EU, where they are much more dominant, Google's only about 80% of the browser market. I think it's only 60% in the U.S.
I don't know if it's exactly a technical question. I mean, we've all been around the block a few million times, and I feel like it shouldn't be that hard to make a search engine. And I don't mean that in like this facile, well, there's not that many it's not that big a deal, but the internet kind of stabilized, right? There's a lot of storage. Storage is relatively cheap. Computational power is relatively cheap. There are companies out there with piles of money who don't know what to do to reinvest it. I actually don't understand why Apple is a likely candidate, as I say, but it's not an intractable problem the way it was when you literally couldn't buy enough servers to stick in racks fast enough to keep up with the growth of the net. And a lot of sites are programmatically driven now. They're database driven. So when you go to Amazon, it's a whole different matter now than when it seemed like 1 million static pages. It's 500 million database driven pages. So I don't know. I feel like there's something missing. Is there not enough money to extract?
You got $1 billion a year, Glenn, because that's the estimate of how much it would cost.
We could ask Elon Musk. I think he's probably.
So there are some.
You're also dealing with spam. You're dealing with spam.
There are big companies that could do this.
You're trying to intuit the content, the topicality of the content. It's not just
all true.
There's more.
But don't you think there's enough computer scientists have been minted, enough AI work? I mean, is there enough work of all kinds out there?
It's just expensive.
Yeah, but expensive at the scale of where you have trillion-dollar companies, and Microsoft's engine is not great, even though the company's been executing a lot of other ways very well. Bing is not great, and DuckDuckGo is kind of the fact that it's emerged so much because of privacy issues in a world in which there are trillion-dollar companies that could throw $1 billion a year at a problem if they felt like there was a return. I don't know. I feel like I'm missing a piece here.
Another way to put it, Glenn, is what's the next generation of search?
Oh yeah.
So I think what you're talking about is search as we know it, like phones, has been static for a while.
You're totally right.
And we're old enough to, having been around the block a few times, as you say, we're old enough to remember the advance that Google was on Fast and on Alta Vista at all. Right, because of its, but what was different about it was, of course, PageRank was about understanding the world differently, and I think that there are frontiers to be had when you get to things like quality or relevance or authority that are much harder problems to attack. Which I would hope that Google would be the one attacking, because I don't think they're really companies set in their ways. But is search done? Is kind of what you're saying, or are there new frontiers?
No, that's where you get into Siri and voice assistants, where maybe the issue is. It's nice. I still laugh because I've got an iPhone. I'm a very Apple committed person, and I'm trying to get Siri, we're like sitting around watching TV, the family, and somebody asks a question. I'm like, oh, I'll ask Siri. And Siri gives me a lousy answer. I'm like, all right, I'm going to launch my Google app, because I know when I use voice recognition on Google, its response will be even better than if I typed it in on the Google app and I get the answer I want. So that's kind of it, is Google feels more advanced in that sort of query, even though Apple, I know really, there's a lot of companies that would love to be the master of that new domain, right?
Well, you're saying there's a lot of companies that would love to be the master. Who are some of those companies? Because there's only going to be a handful of them that can afford it, number one. Yeah. And number two, is it a big enough return on the investment? Google is making a ton of money. Why would someone leave Google if there's a new search engine that's out there?
I think that's one of the reasons there's all that conversations about what's next, because nobody wants to go head-to-head against Google. It's not merely the $1 billion a year you'd have to spend to spider the net. There's also, Google's been doing it for 20 years, so they have a huge amount of track record, historic.
The queries
record.
Are your value. Our queries are the value.
Yeah. So, I think probably, and by the way, to get back to our original subject, with the EU getting involved, with the EU and getting involved in regulating all of this, you might think twice before saying, I'm going to plunge $1 billion a year plus whatever software development costs are to do this. Brave says they're doing a search engine. DuckDuckGo says they're doing a search engine. But none of these attempts, I think, really compete with Bing and Google. By the way, just so you know, I looked it up. Google in the U.S. is 70% market share.
Oh.
Bing is 13.3%. Maybe this must be global, because Baidu is in there at 12.5%, and Yahoo still around at 2%. I don't know if that's even fair to say, because Yahoo's based on Bing, but Google has held pretty steady for desktop. Now, that might be a little bit different if you look at mobile. In fact, we can do that, I think. Device type. Change that.
Google is not stressing.
Mobile. Wow. Google's even more dominant in mobile, almost 95%. Okay, never mind.
Man.
Never mind.
All right, I guess the question, it's just kind of one of those things about why does time travel exist? Well, if it did, we probably would have already seen time travelers. So maybe you can't have another good search engine, one that competes with Google, because it would have happened by now before they reached their absolute
Because you'd have to kill
dominance.
your grandfather. That's why.
Yeah, it's the Google grandfather paradox, sure. Don't Google your grandfather.
No, I've asked that question. It's a really good question, Glenn, is why isn't there competition in what is clearly a very profitable... If Google can afford to give Apple $12 billion a year just so that it's the default search engine on iPhones, there's a lot of money.
A lot of cash.
There's a lot of cash flow being driven by a browser. Clearly, though, I think it's fair to say, and Google's been in trouble for a while, favoring its own properties. And that's one of the things that DMA is particularly there to fight against. This is, of course, and this is the way it works in the EU because of complaints from... remember Google Shopping? People complained about that. Yelp complains about Google reviews, that kind of thing. So it comes from competitors, but it is now official, the Digital Markets Act. The Digital Services Act only affects platforms with 45 million monthly active users. So it's pretty much aimed at Facebook. And Twitter, I guess. Twitter might just skate in under that. If Google had Google Plus, maybe. I don't know. So the DSA puts responsibility on platforms to police and take down illegal content. The problem is, what is illegal speech? This is what of course, Elon Musk has been trying to figure out.
Well... you're giving him more credit than he's due, but yeah.
Google and Apple both are going to have problems with their app stores because of the Digital Markets Act. This can be very interesting. Now, one story I saw from Reuters said the EU has approved these regulations but hasn't funded them, and so enforcement may lag. The fines are significant. The fines for violations of the Digital Markets Act are up to 10% of global revenue. For the Digital Services Act, 6% of global revenue. That's billions, obviously, and enough.
Unless you are bad, then it goes up to 20%.
Yeah, if you do it again, whoo. So, but the question remains, GDPR wasn't enforced right away.
Yes.
But did have its impact, didn't it?
Well, did it though? I was just reading an article, I wish I could remember it immediately, just a few days ago about the impact of GDPR and that there were a lot of initial complaints. There was the perception something would change, and then very little has actually happened. I mean, some people blame it partly on the pandemic because it produced kind of, molasses flow in the EU, which was focused on other things. But did the GDPR do anything but give us more disable access to EU residents from resources that weren't GDPR compliant and put more accept all these various cookies messages, like even more complicated ones on our screen? I don't know that. I would love to find the list of the fines. I think in the end, no one's been fined extremely, and I think some complaints are now 4 years old in the system without having been fully acted upon, including some of the early ones.
And I also saw. Sorry, Glenn. I also saw a story. Maybe it's the same one you saw. That I can't find it either. I thought I bookmarked it. That it basically benefited Google. That's all the small guys. As happens in these regulatory moments, the capture is the big guys can afford to deal with whatever it is. Okay, fine, we'll deal with it. But new competition is harmed.
I'm going to argue
that Wired magazine, how GDPR is failing from May, Matt Burgess. That's the story. And I think that was the conclusion. I'm sorry, Leo.
I have to say I might disagree with that because, for instance, we wouldn't have the California Privacy Protection Act without GDPR. It emboldened California legislator to follow suit. I don't know if failing is the right word. It's also early days. Things move very, very slowly. I mean, this is one reason Google probably doesn't have to worry about the DMA and the DSA so much right away, because it may take a decade to litigate this all. And these big companies absolutely will fight it every step.
And unless I'm wrong here, each country will do its version.
That's the other thing.
What's happened with other things. And so they'll be litigated separately.
It's so complicated, But there have been quite a few, I think there have been quite a few actions based on GDPR that have been taken by the Netherlands, by France. I mean, I think that these things are happening. They're just not, it's not the sky is falling. It's taking a while.
I should say actions. I should divide that because I think the thing this article focused on, and that's what reminded me, is back when the GDPR passed, you had individuals and some groups file complaints immediately, and some of those complaints 4 years later remain completely unresolved. Right. So that was the penalty part may have lacked, but I will back up on my words because as we know in 2018, and it's happened in successive years, two other things have happened similarly. A lot of the big companies, DoubleClick and Google and advertising networks, Microsoft's advertising division, they had to completely retool what they were doing to be as compliant as possible. So even if the complaints have not gone through, complaints haven't necessarily gone through, but they changed their entire method of doing business to the extent they thought they had to. And so the question is, do they have to do more? And the complaints process was supposed to provide a check on that. And I don't think the complaints process was working, but the incentive of there is now a law in place that will affect you. You need to make change.
Well, from the same Wired article, Luxembourg has fined Amazon 746 million euros. That's not an insignificant amount of money. Luxembourg.
Well, Amazon has its operations ostensibly. They probably reap, $100 billion in revenue is recorded in Luxembourg or something, right?
Yeah. Ireland fined WhatsApp 225 million euros last year. Both decisions under appeal, and that's what happens is it drags on. We go back and forth on this show all the time, Glenn, about what the remedy is for big tech. We talked on the show on Sunday about the negatives versus the positives of tech, and of course that's something Jeff's always reminding us that the net is probably positive of big tech, and the prosecution of these things is very slow. But we'd have to do something. I don't think big tech should get to decide what's okay and what's not okay, right?
You want government to?
Yes, that's
Decide
our
what speech
I
is
want
okay? What speech?
No, I want society to, and government
That's
is the
different.
arm of society. Well,
No, government is interested parties, and we have a First Amendment for a reason, and I'm glad we do.
well, then
'cause
if
otherwise,
not,
right now,
so
we'd
how
be
would
having
society enforce it then?
speech.
So you stipulate
through the market, through norms. It's slow, it's difficult, but it's the way it's the way it's happened since. Get ready, folks. Get your glass ready. Since Gutenberg.
Drinking here.
That's how we do on this show, Mr. Glenn.
Find some type.
I feel like you're right. I mean, government's imperfect, but it is
Dangerous. Government's dangerous. And I'm a Democrat. I'm not a libertarian. Let's be very clear here. But when it comes to speech, look what's happening in Florida and look what's happening in Texas, where they're trying to impose noxious speech. Where the governor of Florida is trying to tell teachers what they can and cannot say. Where in Texas they want to tell teachers they can't say slavery. It has to be forced relocation. That's when government gets involved in speech.
Forced relocate. I missed that.
Well, you
Temporarily
missed?
inconvenienced associates.
I'm guessing Mr. Laporte would play devil's advocate here and say society is influencing the government.
Well, yeah, I mean,
societal norms
it's
potentially
you could
influencing
say,
government.
I guess you could. I mean, geez, having great faith in the invisible hand of the free market is probably just as foolish as having great faith in government.
I'm not saying I have faith in it. I'm just saying it's what ends up happening. That efforts to, I've got a whole chapter in the book about this, efforts to censor almost inevitably lead to unintended consequences and ill.
Well, government regulation does not have to mean censorship. In fact, this DSA and this DMA seemed not to be about censorship, but about trying to keep it competitive for smaller companies, right?
That's different from speech.
I didn't say anything about
Competition
speech.
regulation is different.
I didn't say anything about speech. I'm merely saying that it is the realm of the appropriate for society to express its desires from these companies through government action, through regulation. That is the most direct means we have. The market forces aren't necessarily very effective, and norms. What the hell are you talking about? Norms.
Can I throw another log on the fire here, which is just that the latest trend has been to use citizen enforcement through civil action. So,
Which is horrible. I agree.
Right, technically enabled by government, but it's civil action, and then the individuals are involved, and there's monetary damages typically, right?
Yeah.
And in California, if somebody is on the like a Second Amendment maximalist track, you can look to California and say, well, if you like, say, the restriction of speech in some areas, the restriction of certain constitutional rights through private lawsuits. Well, in California, may impose a law that would allow people to sue over certain aspects of gun ownership on a private basis using the same principle and have the same outcome. So it's a double-edged sword there too, is if the government enables individual action to sort of pursue as an arm of government, and the California Privacy Act is you have to have a stake there, right? You have the law, like the Texas abortion law and the California's proposed like gun-related law. Those both give you standing just by, being a member, somebody in the state, right? But the California Privacy Act, you have the standing because you've been, you want to get information from a company's done you harm. So that direct connection gives you both a reason to do something and a reason for state mechanisms to act partly on your behalf, right? And a company to be penalized for it. But I think we're moving to an era in which private actors may be enabled to take essentially quasi-governmental action by using lawsuits, which is, I don't think it's great.
I think we all agree that's a terrible idea. But
it's being tried out. Supreme Court doesn't seem to have an opinion on it yet, which is also terrifying.
I think it's my understanding that was the intent of the Texas legislature is to end around the Supreme Court, right?
Yep.
They don't have to do that anymore thanks to the Roe.
Exactly.
So that was a
look, when the soldiers are when we start dealing with Fourth Amendment right, is it Fourth Amendment right? The quartering soldiers in your house, then you're going to have complaint.
Then we're going to have a problem here.
We do not talk enough about the Fourth Amendment.
I might have a spare bedroom.
We'll be quartering women trying to get abortions in our house instead.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So, Jeff, do you feel as your entire reliance on reigning in big tech should be
no, I was
free
going
market
on
and norms?
I was going on my speech rant. I thought that's what you were talking about. No, but there was a great paper by James Dewar at the Rand Corporation in the 80s, in which he argued, looking back at, I'm going to do it again, folks, get ready, the early days of print and Gutenberg, that countries that tried to control print fell behind societally, in many ways. And he says that the internet is filled with
special
unintended consequences.
Speech is a very special thing. And
speech is special. But even beyond that, government, I mean, GDPR, I think you're right. It's causing other things like California, but GDPR is clumsily and badly written and has issues.
I mean, look, how do we, let's say, can we all agree that we should control our data, not big companies? We should have a say in what happens
What does that mean, though, Leo?
It means that
when you buy something on Amazon,
Yeah.
when you buy something on Amazon, Amazon has a right to know what you bought. You are in
Absolutely.
a transaction with someone.
That's
so for you to say, I own that. Well, no, you only own
That's
half
fine.
of that.
But if my internet service provider is selling a list of websites I visit to Amazon, I should have some control over that, right?
Also, arguably, you could do something like proxy buying. Like, what if, I'm not suggesting that we put this into effect, but it's kind of like drop shipping. What if we could order from Amazon? They never saw who we were. All they knew was a charge had been approved in an anonymous fashion. And when they sent it to a shipper to go out, the shipper wouldn't disclose to Amazon my address. I mean, that's not infeasible, and it's actually done for certain kinds of purchases.
I think,
get orders.
honestly, in most cases, people's interest that Amazon knows you buy it so that you could return it, so that you can complain about it.
But it's plausible. You could have an entirely proxy-based system, which Amazon. I mean, that's an extreme. But it's an extreme, but it's not infeasible.
I think I would go the middle ground, which say it's fine for Amazon to know about a transaction I have. That's a first-party transaction. That's fine. Yeah. It's the collection of data by third parties and the selling on to other people that people are really concerned about. Can we agree that there should be some means of us as consumers controlling that? There isn't currently. The only way to stop that would be regulation, I think. I don't have a choice of which ISP I use. That's a monopolistic market. So, I mean, I don't think there are a lot of recourses. I can't use the free market to say, oh, I don't want to use Comcast. I don't have a reasonable choice.
Well, that's a different question. That's a monopolistic
ball
question.
Of wax. Yeah. I mean, why can't that be fixed? Why not fix that?
Well, I agree that should be fixed as well.
Some other stuff.
But I also think that I should also have the right to tell Comcast, stop looking at what I'm doing. Yeah. We have just as you talked about, Glenn, these like drop shipping. We have technical means to hide our tracks from our internet service providers, but I think it should be illegal. Let's use something that's even more topical. Shouldn't it be illegal for a period tracking app to sell that data on to third parties, not just Tampax, but maybe some citizen in Texas that wants to sue? Should that not be illegal? Are you saying market forces and norms should stop that because it's not doing a good job?
I would imagine that if it gets out that any such app is doing that, then every single user would stop using it. So market forces would probably be ahead of a 2-year legislative process. That's all. I'm not saying you can't pass a law, fine, but if it's found out that that's occurring, and that they're doing an app to serve women,
all right. I guess what it comes down to, you're right. But what comes down to me is it feels like there are wrong things to do. Like an app developer, that's wrong for them to do that. And that it's appropriate for government to make a law against something that's wrong. And I kind of want them to. And it shouldn't be incumbent on me.
Yeah, but you watched the hearings.
It shouldn't be incumbent on me to figure out that, this is happening. It's opaque. It's not obvious it's happening. The only reason we know it's happening is because we have a strong, independent press that reports on it. Otherwise, we would not know. And
that's your best protection, Leo. I mean, again, you watch the hearings.
I think it's
Facebook
all of the above,
Google, and they're idiots.
I think it's all of the above.
If you're going to depend, right? So good, fine, agreed. Because if you're going to depend upon government.
No, but you want to. It sounds like you want to take that weapon out of.
No,
the arsenal.
I don't want to take that weapon out, and we've done this on the show. I'm not going to bore. I think there's different models for it because it's a rapidly changing world. And when I was on the Transatlantic High-Level Working Group on Content Moderation and Freedom of Expression on the Internet, The group, which included former head of DHS, former president of Estonia, a lot of researchers smarter than I am. What we came up with in the end was a recommendation of accountability through transparency. The form of the regulation should take is to demand that platforms hand over data to researchers so we know what the impact is. Now, I go one step beyond what the group did, and I think that they should be required to make statements of what they warrant to their users, and they can be held accountable for it, as the FTC would hold you accountable for if you make a microphone and say that it will make us all sound like Leo Laporte and sound happy, and it doesn't. Then the FTC says, we're not going to tell you how to make the microphone, but you lied, and we're going to hold you accountable for that. So the question becomes, yes, government should hold you accountable, but to what? To what standard? And to have one standard for all online companies doesn't make as much sense as saying they should be held accountable for the warrants they make, and they should make warrants, and they're not making them.
Sorry we dragged you into this, Glenn.
I love this stuff.
It's challenging to figure out what you do about it. And I think my point of view is coming from this kind of injured party, but it's wrong, and there ought to be a law. I fear that Jeff is kind of the Robert McNamara of
oh jeez.
That you're kind of the best and the brightest establishment saying, oh no, let the people decide, and nothing's gonna happen, and we're gonna end up in a quagmire.
I've already heard the Rand Corporation cited. Now
Yeah,
Robert
geez.
McNamara. Are we in the 60s again? Let's get Vannevar Bush on the show for his opinion on regulation.
I just remember this notion of the best and the brightest, right? The bureaucats who ended up getting us into a lot of trouble in the 60s.
Can win the war in
Remind you,
Vietnam.
that was government, by the way. That was government.
But it was government, but coming
funded
from
by the Rand
what I see
Corporation.
is your attitude, which is this academic attitude of, we've got to consider all parties. It doesn't feel right to me, does it? But maybe I'm coming from a very moralistic point of view where.
Oh no, I am too.
I feel like it's just wrong. And there ought to be a law, and obviously.
So you've got to work off empirical data. You've got to show what the harm is. You've got to define the harm. You've got to define the impact.
Yeah.
Then you've got to design the interventions. The problem is we're designing interventions like every kid should have immediate literacy training, when it's not the kids who are the problem. It's grandpas
I agree
who are
with you.
the world.
So
right?
do you
the data
think
tells
then
us
that these two regulations in the EU are misguided?
I think their roots are in many ways misguided, based on presumptions. And get ready, Ant. Get ready. I'm queuing you up here. In some cases, even moral panic.
It's stuck. The moral panic is stuck.
Oh no! Do you have a moral panic video?
It won't move. Yes, we do.
There we go. Oh no!
Moral panic sound balloon.
Somebody doused the flames.
There it is.
Oh, there we go.
Wow,
Oh,
wait a
that's-
minute. Wait a minute. Hold on. Hold on there. Ant, you've been one-upped. You've been one-upped.
That's compliments of Mr. Nielsen there.
Somebody got it in a TriCaster.
Whoa.
Ant's got it.
Whoa! Let's run
Mr.
that
Nielsen
again.
crushed it.
That is a very nice. With a picture of Jeff Jarvis floating above the
Jeff
earth.
Jarvis.
I
during his-
want that on. I want a GIF of that, please. Please.
Jeff Jarvis on the McLaughlin Group this week.
Feeling about this.
Oh, wow, he's even got your lips moving.
Awesome. So awesome, right?
If you're only listening to the audio, I don't know what to tell you.
So awesome.
Oh
Can
my
we
gosh,
tweet
that's
that or
great.
something so people can see it? 'Cause
We
that's
got to tweet
incredible.
that.
That's fantastic.
That's when
Thank
you used to be. You were one of the hosts of the McLaughlin Group, right, Jeff? And you'd be Jeff Jarvis. I need your opinion on.
Wrong, Jarvis, wrong. Wow. Okay. Thank you, Anthony Nielsen.
That stopped everything. Yeah.
Incredible.
Good work. Good work.
My general feeling, and maybe it's a little Pollyanna-ish of me, is that the EU is attempting to do the right thing. This is a work in progress. There's no, you're going to have unintended consequences. You're going to have misfires, but they're doing something. coming from the right spirit, which is we need to rein in these completely unregulated companies that are amassing more and more power in our society. And there needs to be, at least at some point, somebody saying, well, maybe that's a bridge too far. And I think that that's appropriate for government to do. It's not going to be perfect. It needs to be refined. It needs to be improved. But I feel like these two acts are actually a pretty good step in the right direction, personally. And I think they're well-founded. I think they're well-intended. We'll see. I like Margarita Vestager. I know I'm one of the few.
She reduced roaming fees. Great UK story was the EU reduced roaming fees, years ago across cellular carriers because they're essentially meaningless.
It was huge. Yeah.
Someone was complaining recently the EU is reimposing roaming fees on the UK, and it's like, no, you left the EU.
You fools.
So you will have roaming fees when you go to the EU because you, the UK, are no longer part of the EU.
That's a wonderful thing. Once you're in the EU, you can have a SIM card from any EU nation, and you pay the same amount. I think that's
garbage. The roaming fees were
they're
ridiculous.
Oh, they're
and it, by the way, impacted every U.S. traveler in the EU as well. So I really think that's a perfect example of.
It is a good example
of regulation.
I found a positive. That's
Thank you.
One thing.
I understand the method of government using government to achieve any of this is fraught with peril. Is
I wish it worked
time
better.
consuming.
Leo. I wish it did.
And I wish it weren't so corrupt. I agree. But I don't know what else we have, to be honest. And I guess for me, it's the only tool we have. I mean, women now that they know that period trackers are selling their data, they don't know specifically which one, but they know that because of good journalism on the part of, I don't know who it was, The Verge or ProPublica, but
I don't know. I just fear the idea of an overcorrection from our government. You know what I mean? Like they're wanting to step in to try to make things right for us, these citizens. But I think at some point they may go too far and really.
Of course, that's of course a risk. That's of course a risk. And the founders were very afraid of government, and rightly so. The other choice, though, is to let big tech self-regulate, and I think we don't even have to guess if that's a risk. Right? We know what they're going to do if they're allowed to do whatever they want.
Or the other thing is they're having regulation in each state too, right? The fact that companies have to comply to California regulations, which are quite, some of the best in the country now, or some of the tightest about privacy and retaining. Yeah. So, but that means that, if my state, Washington, were to pass some very restrictive rules, some companies, maybe our market's not big enough, maybe they'd exit. But, as with like emissions, emission controls in California, which was allowed to and may still be allowed to set its own standards, it's a big enough economy that it could have a ripple effect.
We drove the auto industry.
Yeah,
exactly. And the EU is doing that too with carbon emissions and so forth.
So California gets the lead in that regard too, and some of the states have been ahead on it. But then there's this patchwork. It's the usual argument. There's a patchwork of legislation that makes it hard for small businesses, and big businesses don't care. Either they pay the fees, or they ignore it, or they comply. But sometimes they comply, and it changes their policies countrywide or worldwide. And
there's always unintended consequences.
Yeah,
that's the nature of law. I think, Jeff, if I rephrased this argument to say instead of big tech, if I said big oil or big tobacco, I don't think we would have. You wouldn't say, well, let market forces determine.
I'm not saying market forces should determine all. What I'm saying is what Dewar said in the Rand paper was actually the opposite. He said that what regulation does is it tries to forestall unintended consequences. What we should do is get to the unintended consequences as quickly as possible. He was saying the opposite.
Yeah. So let's make cigarettes completely legal. Let's eliminate.
I'm not a libertarian.
Emissions.
I'm not going to say that.
Let's eliminate emissions controls.
We don't know. We didn't know what cigarettes were for years and years and years, and they were legal until we got the science that said, this crap's killing people, and then finally we did something about it.
But big tobacco,
right? And we're making presumptions about the internet being cigarettes, which is wrong and is dangerous to the freedoms that it brings to people who were too long not included in the institutions of society. That's my argument. It is an effort to control this change agent in society It's that and if you look
It's
at the,
too
the,
early
the
'cause
attempts
we
of
don't-
the laws
we don't know
in
what
Texas
it's
and
gonna be.
California and
Yeah.
Florida,
Yeah.
it's trying to say we want to control these voices we didn't hear before very conveniently. Now we're hearing them. We don't like them.
5 years
And so
ago,
we
that
wanna
might
find
have
ways
made
to control
sense,
them.
Jeff. But these now, big tech is so big that it's got to the point now. Well, for instance, Glenn asked a great question. Why aren't there other search engines? Because the incumbents are so dominant and so big. There
So
can't
my
be.
response was that's fighting yesterday's battle. I think
I
Facebook
understand.
is the next MySpace. I think Facebook, which was going to take over the world
By
and
the
ruin
way,
all society.
when
I
you
think
made
it's
that
either
argument
way.
5 years ago, Facebook was the answer. Oh, no, because social search is the next big search. That didn't happen, I might point out.
Well, no, it did to the extent of Black Lives Matter and Me Too. It wasn't what was planned for by Twitter or Facebook, but people used the platforms because they finally had the mechanism to speak.
But not
mass
as a,
media
again,
never
you're gone
gave
to
them.
speech. We're talking about search, not as a not. So
I think so-
by the time we realize how much power big tech has in our lives, it will be too late to regulate it.
I tell you, when Microsoft has this browser everywhere, God knows what power they're going to have. It's just going to be. We have. To
I
do
think you
something.
can make a
We've got
strong
to get
argument that the DOJ's lawsuit against Microsoft in the late 90s did, in fact, have a very salutary effect.
Oh no, it was the
on
EU
growth.
that killed Microsoft.
yeah, they-
No, that was
They
the browser
broke the-
ballot, but it was the DOJ suing Microsoft about bundling. And the consent decree that Microsoft agreed to, and Microsoft backing down on its embrace and engulf and devour business strategies that allowed Google to thrive, that allowed the internet to grow. So I think and you could look at the AT&T breakup.
which is the market coming.
You can look at, there are plenty of good examples of this and of regulation really working and improving things. And I just worry that we're rapidly approaching a time when Google is so powerful that no regulation can rein it in. We may already be there, to be honest with you.
You know what I think? I think that we're going to find that the ad market. So Google is already losing ad share. It and Facebook are no longer half of the digital ad market.
Who are they losing it
like
to?
Amazon.
A bigger fish.
Oh, who else? Well, no, and then other company. I'm forgetting. This was on the rundown last week. It's in there. It's in my things from last week. So funny you should. If you were just here, Leo, not gallivanting off around the world in places that we couldn't figure out where you were.
Yeah. See, I was wondering that because the big battle right now, like, Google and Facebook cry about Apple's, Google and Facebook have been crying about Apple's changes to advertising, to how it third-party tracking and so forth.
Yeah, the tracking.
And all its lockdowns. I'm not going to cry on Facebook's behalf because they can't target me well enough. I mean, I don't use Facebook now, but they can't target people well enough, so they can't charge as much to their advertisers. And I feel like there's a coming battle is, if we watch market evolution, maybe the government often, to your point, Jeff, the government gets involved late and it takes a lot of time, and they often maybe produce the wrong solution for the point we're at. So, there's arguments that Microsoft, the antitrust lawsuit, dragged on so long and was reduced enough in scope that by the time it had happened, maybe the sheer nature of the suit caused change and caused market. Like just the government suing gave the position for competitors. I remember how Real Networks came out of that. And, not that it thrived necessarily, but they had this huge payout eventually from Microsoft. They were able to promote this alternate media player, which broke the hegemony of Microsoft's media players, and it changed the whole market even before any settlement had happened, even before Microsoft had agreed. So governments often come in late in the process, but initiating action can cause some change. And I think right now we have a battle between Apple, which as a marketing stance, I think it's legitimately technologically implemented, but as a marketing stance is all in on privacy. And you have Google, not negative on privacy, but it's not their paramount concern. Their big revenue is advertising. They have to balance that. And you have Facebook, which I don't think really cares much about privacy except as chin music. And so they don't, their whole goal is to continue to achieve these massive profits they've had in the past. And I think that's going to be the fight, is over how these companies use that marketing message and whether they're successful enough. And, when Google, for instance, implements the version that it intends to do eventually of essentially blocking the same kind of tracking that Apple's already put in place.
I do remember, though, saying many, many years ago, watch out, when Apple is as big as Microsoft, they'll be just as rapacious. And I think that has proven to be the case.
Well, it's a different way, though. It's funny because Apple is so insular. Microsoft like ate and beat down the landscape around it.
They would buy all the competition. They used to do what Facebook does today, basically.
But they would go to every neighboring principality and say, you have a really nice place here. Do you want us to raise your castles and sow salt into your fields? You probably don't want that. And Apple doesn't necessarily do that. Apple says, we've raised our ramparts so high, no one shall ever enter, which is a very different model. I'm not saying it's necessarily less rapacious. It doesn't seem to it when you're inside the castle and you say, those are really nice tall walls.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't get to be a $2 trillion, almost $3 trillion company though, without a little rapaciousness.
So to answer your question, Meta and Google are losing market share to TikTok, Apple, Walmart, and Amazon.
Not an improvement.
Walmart,
if you ask me, but okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, the other thing that's going on is that advertising changes. So we've talked about this in the show in the past. Best Buy's selling floor is now a marketing entity. Instacart is an advertising.
I have to say, I'm a little surprised that Google and Facebook are failing, because it feels to me they have such a dominant position just because of what they. Or are they not growing as fast, or are they actually shrinking?
Oh no, they're losing share. They're losing
share.
They're losing share.
Shrinking.
And the ad market is still going up, but I believe
the pie is
the
bigger,
advertising market.
So there are more pieces, but Facebook and Google are not getting
that's
smaller.
going to turn around. Yeah. I sat in a dinner before the pandemic. The last time I sat at a dinner ever. With a bunch of advertisers, and once the very good wine was passed out, this was put on by a PR company. They said that do they care about newspapers? And they admitted, no, we don't care. We build our own relationships now. The only thing we care about newspapers for is our stock price. The rest of it, we just don't. We don't care about media.
Right.
When you say there's more pieces in the pie, are you saying there's just more options?
It's just the ad market is growing. It's a much bigger pie.
The economy is growing, thus the ad market is growing. Yeah. So there's more to share, but they're getting a smaller share. Does it make sense?
Leo's saying the pie has been built higher, if I remember the quote correctly.
It's cake. It's a cake. It's a cake. What's the turducken equivalent of a cake and pie?
Oh, there is.
Oh, you do a
thing.
baked. You do a baked Alaska. Yeah, it's a baked Alaska with a cake on the outside, I think, too, right? You can do what they call a frozen Florida. I think it was in Scientific American had this recipe, and they use liquid nitrogen to have a hot cake inside an ice cream shell. So just do 2 of those: baked Alaska, frozen Florida.
Oh, good. Since we're off topic anyway, Leo, line 33.
No, stop. Just stop, okay? Just stop.
Line 33 is a nice little moment from your earlier British discussion.
I just want to show you the pie caken.
Oh, you found it. Oh, it is the pie caken.
Which is a pie inside a cake.
Oh, my.
So you don't have to choose anymore.
Ant is making this.
Yeah.
Oh,
what's that show?
I'm buying it.
Look at that. There's 3 pies inside that one.
Is that truly? I don't know if that counts. That's like 3 layers with the fondant.
It's kind of disgusting. The fondant holds it together, yeah.
I don't know. Or maybe just not even fondant, but...
something.
Bruh.
Plastic.
This with some vanilla ice cream.
That's a cherry pie.
That's like a...
I don't know what the
I don't know. You could do a pride cake like that, but I feel like it separates the layers too much.
Oh, my.
Pie caken is the answer to
pie caken.
Dirt Dog.
Try frozen Florida first, I think.
I like whatever frozen Florida is.
Liquid nitrogen. You make a hot cake, and then you use liquid nitrogen to make the ice cream on the outside. Boom.
Ooh. And is the cake still hot inside or no?
The cake is hot inside, and you have ice cream on the outside.
Oh, so it is very much like a baked Alaska then.
Yeah, it's inverted.
Yeah.
With science.
Yeah.
That's why it was in, I think it's Scientific American, right?
Yeah.
It's
This is kitchen counterculture, but
most food is scientific.
Food is science, as the great Harold, what's his name, Mitchell would tell you. All right, I want to take a break and talk about our sponsor, because we have a wonderful sponsor. I know you know the name of this sponsor, Glenn, because you probably have some of their stuff. I have stuff from Nomad all over my house. They started as a Kickstarter project about 10 years ago. They were going to build ultra-rugged, minimalist tools for the 21st century that would seamlessly integrate into your everyday carry. In the past 9 years, they have expanded. They do cases. They do Apple Watch straps. They do wireless chargers. They have some great wireless chargers. I'd show you the one that does the watch and the phone, the MagSafe charger, but Lisa stole it. It's at home on her bedside table. It's so good. They make premium wallets. They make passport holders, and all their stuff is crafted with, if it's leather, with Horween leather, which is the best leather from the Horween Tannery in Chicago, which has been around since 1905. And anybody who loves leather knows when you say Horween, that's chef's kiss, an unparalleled blend of quality and consistency. What's nice, this is a brand new case on my iPhone, but this Horween leather case will age over time. I should show you my old case. It develops this nice patina. The leather ages so beautifully, and it's unique because only you have this particular case, and of course because it's great Horween leather, it smells fantastic. The wireless charging solutions for home, office, and bedroom, AirPods, as well as Apple Watch, as well as iPhone. This is the base one with MagSafe. It's great. It's so heavy. It sits right there on the table. It's not going anywhere. You put the phone on that, and it just, boom. You could, I don't know, I probably can. Let me see. Yeah. You could turn the phone upside down, the charger upside down. The magnet's so strong. That's awesome. They now have GaN AC adapters. We love these gallium nitride technologies that give you very powerful 30 and 60 watt or 65 watt adapters in a very small place. One of the things I love about Nomad is believe it or not, pay attention to the charging cables when you get them. You'll see the crew at Nomad was just done with crap charging cables that fall apart every few months. They decided we're going to engineer the best cables around. Double braided Kevlar outer sheath, strong metal alloy connector housings. These have been engineered for extreme durability and everyday use. They're also a climate neutral certified brand. Let me show you. I haven't put it on my watch because I want to keep it for the ads, but as soon as the ads are over, I'm going to take the steel band out. This is a beautiful Nomad steel band for your Apple Watch. Just gorgeous. Easily remove the links to get it sized exactly right. It's a bracelet that has a very strong connector. It's not going to go anywhere. That is gorgeous. I'm a Nomad fanatic. Nomad is and always will be a company that prioritizes design and quality over everything else. One of the most important aspects of Nomad when designing new products is they use the highest quality, longest lasting materials available. I love it when you get something like a case, a charger, a watch band. You can feel the quality. You can feel, it's going to last. It's made with the best materials. It's just the quality is right through it. They design all their concepts from the ground up. They're not white labeling existing products. There's the charger, the base one Max that Lisa took. I said she could have it. She needed a good charger. She said, my watch keeps falling off the Apple charger, and the phone keeps slipping off the Apple charger. I said, honey, this is the answer. The base one Max charges both, and it's really a nice connection. 10 years they've been doing this. They're having a 10th anniversary sale. They launched with that simple cable on Kickstarter 10 years ago. They have grown, and they are doing such great work. From July 6th, which is today, through July 15th, 30% off site-wide virtually all Nomad products. What? Look at that, a leather cover for your Apple TV remote. Now that's quality. That's class. That's the kind of thing you'd see in a high-end mansion, right? 30% off site-wide, no coupon needed, just simple, easy savings to help celebrate 10 years in business for Nomad. I love that. Go to nomadgoods.com/twig. These savings will end on the 15th, so hurry on over. Don't miss out. If you're listening after July 15th, we can still get you 10% off your first purchase of any Nomad accessory using the nomadgoods.com/twig and the promo code TWIG, and that's better than nothing. But if you're here listening before the 15th, get that 30% off right now. After the 15th, 10%. Promo code TWIG. But whatever you do, please go to nomadgoods.com/twig so they know you saw it here, right? We want the credit. nomadgoods.com/twig. I've been using their stuff for 10 years. It's just superb quality. Now that's the market working as it should. The free market giving you great products. Are we, out of curiosity, Web3's going great, right?
What's Web3?
Just checking. Yeah, what is
That good. That's how good it's going.
Yeah, it's going really, really good. I like to go to the website just once in a while, see what Molly has to say about the latest.
Oh my God! Did you read the New York Times had a fantastic op-ed, or what do they call it now? An essay. Sorry, it's an essay. It's not an op-ed anymore.
Yeah.
It's the essay section, and they had a great piece by a pro crypto person, just going like, every currency's had its trouble. We've had a tulip panic. It was like the most like the things you tell yourself at 3 a.m. when you realize your bank account is empty and you owe people a lot of money, and they're about to knock on the door.
Well,
and
this
you're
is
trying to
normal.
get out the back with a suitcase.
This is what happens. It's just the way it is.
Hey, it happened to
Just every-
Caesar and those coins he had,
That's right. I mean, look, this is the only thing in history that's had no value attached, that has had no purpose whatsoever. And so it's going to have its ups and downs. It's okay. Just put more money in.
So did tulip bulbs.
Tulip bulbs. You read Michael, or what's his name? There's the book about the history of tulips and potatoes and so forth. I'm blanking out the guy who wrote this book. He wrote a whole bunch of interesting books. It'll come to me. But the tulip mania, those bulbs were actually worth a lot of money because the broken disease that caused the variegation in tulips produced flowers that were extremely valuable. There was actually inherent value. I think tulip mania has been overstated for centuries. I mean, it was a mania.
Unlike Bitcoin, there was
panic.
real value in the tulip bubble.
People were willing. So do you remember the difference between like the pets.com crash and like a later crash? Like pets.com was shipping, 40 pounds of kitty litter for less than it cost them to ship and less than it cost them to buy it, right? I mean, pets.com and some of those early companies, they had no actual revenue to match the outflow. It was all venture capital funded. So when the next sort of bump hit, like 2008, you didn't have the same failure occur among .coms. And in fact, they drew strength from it because they had real revenue. People are like, oh, it's just the same pattern again. It's like, no, it isn't. So then I think when we saw the pandemic hit and you saw this incredible surge in value in online companies, like Zoom or like Amazon or like Apple, it was based on that strength that they were not the vaporware that we're used to in, say, 2001. We've evolved to a time of actual
ironically, we now get our kitty litter delivered by mail.
Yeah.
So
here's my
Bill
little.
Gross was right, just early.
it just was too early.
Mike, think gross. It's my little resistance against Amazon as I order things that I think cost them more to ship me than it's worth.
That's
But
all right. They'll make it up in
ridiculous.
volume. It's fine.
Exactly.
They got a model. We actually
Bill
literally-
Gross, who started that company, who's our friend at Idealab.
Yeah.
Did a study once of what makes a company, what's the factor that's going to make a company most successful, leadership and so on and so forth. And he said it was timing.
I think it's absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's absolutely right. If I were to launch Twit today, we would have it. Seriously.
You'd be bought by Spotify.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's Michael Pollan is the author.
Michael
I want to make sure I give him
Pollan.
credit.
Pollan,
Wonderful author, and he's written a lot more about food lately. But if you want to understand what Johnny Appleseed, for instance, was really doing, not what we were taught in school, you got to read one of his books.
You almost said Michael Pollan, and I thought, well, I don't know. Did he write about the history of tulip bulbs? But I guess he did.
I think it's in one of his books.
Yeah. Really great. I love Michael Pollan. We quoted him the other day, actually.
Oh, that's funny.
I think yesterday we were talking about it. Not much to say except that all the crypto exchanges are flailing,
Oh my gosh.
going down.
I've got a question for you, Leo.
Yeah.
Why, if they were exchanges with a whole bunch of money in their air quotes bank, why were they all borrowing money? And
Well, they
that's
wanted to
what's
make
making them
more.
fail?
They leverage. So,
all
for instance,
leverage, okay.
Uprise, which is a cryptocurrency investment fund, lost 99% of its customer funds when they tried to short Luna during its collapse in May. Whoops. Voyager Digital filed for bankruptcy. A crypto broker suspended withdrawals a week prior, says it's filed for bankruptcy due to the, quote, prolonged volatility and contagion in the crypto markets. They also had invested in Three Arrows Capital, which was another bankrupt crypto fund that defaulted on a loan from Voyager worth $660 million. You see the dominoes falling. The problem is many of these cases, if you've got a custodial wallet with these exchanges, you may be a creditor. You may not. It's not like a bank. Ain't no FDIC here. You may be out. And so it's just dominoes, I think, falling. CoinLoan, crypto lending platform, reduces account withdrawal limit. That's like, you remember, Jimmy Stewart? He went to the bank and he tried to get his money out. He couldn't get his money.
Your NFT isn't in Leo's house. It's in Ed's house. It's in Jeff's house.
It's in everybody's.
Wait, I went there and there's no NFT there, though.
Only can withdraw $5,000 a day, down from the $500,000 a day limit. But they tried to reassure customers, rest assured, your assets are safe. Crypto lender Vault suspends withdrawals, considers restructuring. I can go on and on and on. That's only this past week. It's really a bloodbath.
Scary.
It's a bloodbath. And then there's the hacking. Margin. So many NFTs have been hacked. I've been getting emails from people about Bored Apes. There is a video going around on the YouTube claiming, using, by the way, documentary techniques pioneered by Steve Bannon, or maybe by Goebbels before that, I don't know, but showing how Bored Ape is actually racist. And actually, as I look at the sketches of Bored Ape, they are kind of racist.
What?
Oh, and my 15-year-old comes to me the other day and says, Bored Ape, this is the conversations we have in my household, Bored Ape is based on Nazi iconography.
That's right.
And I'm not paraphrasing. That's pretty much my 15-year-old. And I said, oh, come on. Now, I know it's terrible. I hate it. It's a bunch of, it's scams. It's whatever. And they're like, no. I watched the video. I'm like, all right, what's the source? I have not watched this yet, but they showed me a link from it that shows an almost exact traceover of a piece of Nazi iconography that I was unaware of, with a skull.
Here it is.
And the board, yeah. And you're like,
oh, wow.
So
yeah,
this is the Waffen
Yacht.
SS. This is the death skull.
I need to watch
SS.
the whole thing, but you're like, there's some things there's coincidence, and there's people trying to force, square pegs into round holes, and then there's things where like, oh, if they didn't do that intentionally, then why is it such a perfect match? Come on,
it's a perfect match. There are the same number of teeth. That number resolves to Adolf Hitler's birthday. Yeah. There is a lot of iconography. Maybe it's a coincidence.
I never thought getting on the internet in the 80s or whatever it was called, Bitnet maybe then, right? I never thought it would wind up being so many Nazis. I thought we'd already beaten those guys.
Yeah, you know what I'm thinking? There's a lot of Nazis anyway, and they're showing up.
They're permissioned now.
Yeah.
I think we're at the point where anything up to saying what the Nazis said and what the KKK says is now free game. And the idea is to be as offensive as possible. And how do you fight that when that's the goal? You can't use norms. You can't say, "Oh, shame on you for saying that." Ha ha ha! Don't lib farts? Don't you cancel me? That's where we are now, and we don't have a strategy.
Yeah,
that was lib farts don't cancel me. It should be a bumper sticker, Jeff. I think, I think so. In quotation marks, because we're being ironic.
I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other. If you watch the video, it's fairly convincing, but it's done in such a almost hypnotic, over the top propaganda
conspiracy
style
way.
Yeah, that it is. Let's just say
talking about it being racist. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, they make the case that it's racist. You know what, Ant? You should probably watch it. Just sounds like you're skeptical.
Yeah,
I gotta watch the thing.
I'm of the mind. I know that racism exists, but I'm also of the mind that, good gosh, if you look for racism,
you can find
hard enough, you'll find it.
Yeah.
So I'm not always just out there looking for it.
Well,
as far as I'm concerned, this black microphone that I'm staring at right now could be racist because it's
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I watched the video, and there's some pretty. There's a lot of coincidences. Let's put it that way.
Well, yeah, but that's the you can find coincidences. Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm with Ant until I watch it. Is it really
I
worth
need to take a
watching?
look. My
watch a little
15-year-old recommends it. So, and they're pretty smart. So,
All right.
they're savvy. It's interesting raising teenagers who are as savvy as you pretend to be. I would say as I pretend to be, because we have these wild conversations about like. What's reliable? Jeff, this is so in your wheelhouse too. It's like, what's reliable information? How do you figure out things that are authoritative? They're like, well, I saw it in a video. I'm like, well, you know as well as I do that YouTube is full of unreliable things. They're like, yes. So what I did is, and then they describe a methodology by which they feel they cross-checked it. But are all the sources using to cross-check it good? I don't know. So we have very interesting media and credibility conversations because my children
Alex
are raised
Lindsay is with his kids.
Yeah.
He's the same way. They basically saying, "Hey, check your sources.
Yeah.
Don't believe the first thing you see."
This is the Waffen SS Totenkopf Death Head logo.
It's
very similar.
Not that one. Yeah. Well, that's the Yacht Club one, but still, I don't know.
I showed the Nazi one first.
Yeah.
That's the Nazi one.
Yeah.
That's
skull, I don't know.
Oh, that's one of the. Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's just say this: it's all so effing stupid.
Well,
that's the biggest
People
price.
spend fortunes on this crap.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. The hashtag is Burn BAYC, Bored Ape Yacht Club, and the video, which now has 1.3 million views, it went up about 2 weeks ago by Philion, Philion. And I don't know. I really don't know either.
I don't. I'll tell you. I think I may have mentioned this in a previous episode. Ryan Broderick does this newsletter called Garbage Day that I highly recommend because for somebody my age in their 50s who pretends to know something, I don't really understand what the kids are doing at all, or I don't fully understand it because I'm not engaged in TikTok and in influencer culture and all that. And so to understand the foment of what's happening, Ryan is like a concierge. He's like a bridge between us older people and the younger people because he's part of the culture, but he stands back. And so I always recommend Garbage Day. I read it every day. One of the only things I read every day because it helps me make some sense out of what looks like absolute chaos. Like it's Morbin time or the Gentle Minions. Like why did Minions do so well? Well, of course, teenagers were teenage
why
males
are
were
they
dressing
showing up in suits at Yes. Yes.
Right. So I feel like an old man. I'm like, get off my internet lawn.
Yeah.
But so I read this newsletter.
But we have an obligation, don't we? Here, maybe this is a better side-by-side of those, this is the Panzer Corps from the SS next to it. 18 teeth. Very, very similar. Coincidence? I guess it could be.
Well, are there Nazis all around us? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I just put another story up. There are some. Georgia has their kind of the Georgia Stonehenge. It's these tall.
Oh, that's a
granite columns.
weird thing.
They got bombed because the religious right thinks that they're satanic.
It's
and
a weird set of statements on it, though. It is kind of like you don't have to. You know what it reads like, though. It reads like a far right wing person's idea of what a far left person would put out as guiding principles. So it reads like a parody, but it's kind of slightly terrifying. Not like it should be bombed or blown up or graffitied as it has in the past. It was put up legitimately, as I understand it. But it's still the statements are like from some kind of.
This is what we're arguing
sci-fi.
about. Is this kind of crap? Yeah.
The world is so full of so many things.
It's weird, isn't
I'm
it?
sure we should all be as rich as his kings or something like that.
Meanwhile, if you want a little moment of fun, just a quick moment, line 33. Just a little moment of fun.
Now,
As a
if you
TV
want
person.
lines,
I
I
know
have
you
to.
hate it when I do this.
I have to go back. I have to go back to the lines. Hold on, slow me down.
We're all gonna get onto
line 33. Great little BBC moment on the Twitters.
So they're out in front of number 10. Ross.
Whoops. Hello. Yeah, well, and back we go to number 10 Downing Street. Oh, hello.
So they cut to the anchor at the desk, and he has his feet up, and he's on his phone.
Now, I got to tell you
God
something.
it was his feet up.
I got to tell you something. There's no way the director didn't know he was going to that shot. Yeah. So,
somebody was settling scores.
A little score settling going on there. I say.
I thought you'd like it as a TV guy.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't a Tubin moment. That's the important part.
What's a Tubin
thank
moment?
goodness.
I'm just calling back to
Jeffrey.
2020.
Oh, that. Never mind.
You had to
Never
ask,
mind.
Leo. You had
Never
to ask.
mind. I'd blanked it out, actually.
Sorry, we should have. I apologize.
Good for you,
And
sir.
speaking of the Twitter, we have now put, for those of you listening, the Jeff Jarvis Moral Panic video is now
right.
up at Twit on Twitter, so you can go
This is
right
some
there and see
excellent
it.
real-
Even
Real-time
beats Leistungsschutzrecht to a reggae beat.
I love it that they clutch cargoed your lips. That's
Oh,
hysterical.
yeah, no, it's amazing.
Really amazing.
Well,
Oh,
whose
Mr.
voice is
Nielsen.
it? Do we know?
Wait a minute, it's your voice. This is
about this.
No, it's not.
that's his voice. No,
No.
listen.
It's not.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Oh yeah, maybe you're. Is that
No, this
is
is
that
fine.
Harrison
It's funny.
Ford?
Harrison Ford from,
I think from Star
Air Force
Wars.
One. Maybe?
Yeah,
Maybe.
Oh,
Yeah,
Star Wars.
It was
Yeah,
It was a
I got a bad
mashup
feeling about this. Wow.
Good.
Maybe.
You'd like Harrison Ford to play you in the movie of yourself, right?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Well, not
absolutely.
not today's Harrison Ford. The Harrison Ford of 20 years ago. He's
There you go.
he's a little crusty now. Actually, maybe that's
So am I.
why he'd be playing me. Yeah.
Crashed a lot of planes. man.
Scientific American asked the artificial intelligence GPT-3 to write an academic paper about itself and then tried to get it published.
I don't think they were trying to be smart-assed about it and do it, sneakily. They were trying to say, let's actually publish this, and issues got raised. What's the byline? Who's the author?
Yeah, who's the author?
How do you attribute things?
This is the same
it raised
problem
those
with
kind of fun things.
Microsoft's Copilot, their GitHub Copilot. Who's the author of the code you're stealing, right? Who is the author of an artificial intelligence generated? Because the algorithm is pulling, with Copilot anyways, pulling actual human written code snippets. GPT-3 is trained on actual human
Makes
writing.
a mockery of copyright because the samplers in hip hop who use stuff from all around, all GPT-3 is textual hip hop.
It's
pulling
sampling.
from all over.
It's sampling.
Yeah, it's sampling, and it's predicted.
At least in the hip hop world, those guys and gals tend to go and get a license agreement from the people they're sampling because they've all been sued
Right.
so many times. It's sort of standard.
They didn't at
protocol.
first, is what you're
That was
saying.
after the
They didn't
Pretty
used
Woman-
to.
Yeah.
Pretty
In
Woman
the 80s,
case,
yeah, that's a
right?
different story. In the 80s, yeah, it's different. But
the
1990s, yeah, they had all learned. Yep. we
They
gotta go
sampled
get a
Roy
license.
Orbison. Is that what they did?
That's it. The Oh Pretty Woman case.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Oh,
Love
now
seeing
what?
that in the Supreme Court.
It went to the Supreme Court.
Yeah. It was a very key decision. It was actually
yeah.
really important for remix culture, but I think it paved the way, as Ant's saying, for licensing. It opened up all opportunities because there was a framework as opposed to being ambiguous.
Luther Campbell, a.k.a. Luke Skywalker, versus Acuff Rose Publishing. Justice Souter in 1994 delivered the opinion of the court. Luther R. Campbell, Christopher Wong, Mark Ross, and David Hobbs, collectively known as Two Live Crew, sampled
Right.
Pretty Woman.
Yeah.
Acuff Rose's agent refused permission, stating, I am aware of the success enjoyed by the, quote, Two Live Crews, but I must inform you we cannot permit the use of a parody of Oh Pretty Woman. Two Live Crew released records, cassette tapes, and compact discs of Pretty Woman in a collection of songs called As Clean as They Want to Be.
Man, they were all
They're
over
funny.
the news back then.
That's
they
funny.
were all over the news. That album and
Yeah.
their non-clean album, and then there was the parental discretion stickers that were put on. It was pretty much them that had all of that stuff put into place back then.
So
Parental
the
advisory, I should say, not discretion.
Supreme Court found that it was fair use through parody and allowed.
That's right. Because that was right. Fair use. This is something I'm sure Jeff has volumes to say about this, but one of the fundamental
I have volumes to
flaws.
say about anything.
Wow, I don't want to put you on the spot. The fundamental flaw with fair use is it's a doctrine as opposed to something that you can just figure out. So there have been talks about the copyright, the U.S. Patent and Copyright Office, or the U.S. Copyright Office rather, setting up an expedited fair use sort of trial court. So you'd be able to go and kind of say, here's what I want to do, and would this be fair use? And there's a lot of restrictions around it. But without it, you're open to massive copyright liabilities, or your case goes all the way to the Supreme Court, as in that one.
The great Harvard lawyer Larry Lessig says that fair use is the right to hire a lawyer.
That's right.
Oh, man. If this will date me, but Suzanne Vega had this issue with Fatboy Slim very early in Fatboy Slim's career. Tom's Diner remix, and I think that she actually in the end settled.
Yeah,
to my recollection.
She was
and,
okay with it because she made a ton of money out of it.
Yeah, it was pretty great. It was a great remix.
We had Suzanne Vega come in and sing the original a cappella version on the screensavers because it was used. It has a tech angle. It was used by the Fraunhofer Corporation for improving the algorithm of MP3 compression with human voice. So we had Suzanne in. We talked to her and we had her sing the song. And I sat 5 feet away from her as she was singing Tom's Diner. One of the best songs of all time. Although Fatboy Slim's remix is the big hit.
It's clever. He's 30 years later and he's still doing his thing too. She's still out touring.
She's still good. Yeah, absolutely. She's still performing. She's wonderful.
Well, touring again just now.
Yeah.
So Scientific American had to ask the computer whether it was okay to cite the computer as the author.
And what the computer
said. And then had to ask the computer said yes. Then they had to ask the computer whether it had any conflicts of interest, because you have to do that. It said no. And it's all, there is obviously a joke here is that they're treating it as a sentient being after the whole Lambda idiocy. Yeah. But I'm having such fun thinking about what all you can do with this stuff.
Yeah. Wow. You actually asked GPT-3 to write an op-ed.
I did.
About your favorite topic.
Uh-huh.
Moral panic. Dark mode. Not dark mode. Moral panic. Although you might have had more success.
I might have.
Yeah. So should I read what GPT-3 wrote? Is it worth reading?
Well, I asked it to write 3 things. I asked it to write an op-ed about moral panic. Then I asked it to write a short story with a hero about moral panic. And then I asked it to write a blurb for my book about moral panic. So
let me put it this way.
It's all in the thread. Take
I wouldn't
choice.
call any of these an example of sentience.
No.
The internet is often blamed for the ills of society, but is it really to blame? Moral panic over the internet is nothing new. In the early days of the internet, people were concerned, quote, that children would be exposed to pornography and violence. It never ends that quote, by the way.
That sounds just like Mr. Jarvis.
Yeah. Okay, that's the article. Let's hello.
The short story. It's in the thread.
Here's the short story. The GPT-3, a story about a hero who defends the internet against claims moral panic is destroying society. Harrison Ford, amazingly enough, is playing the hero.
Shall I do this one?
Yes.
When society began to crumble, the internet was there to pick up the pieces. It was a safe haven for those who were lost.
Yes.
And it was a place where people could connect with others who were going through the same thing.
Yes.
The internet was a lifeline for many people, and it was the only thing that kept them going.
Yes.
However, there were some who saw the internet as a threat. They believed it was destroying society. It was full of pornography and violence. They tried to get the government to shut down the internet, but they were unsuccessful. There was one man.
Oh, Lord.
One tall, white-haired man who saw the internet as a force for good. He was a hero, and he fought for the rights of the people who used the internet. He defended the internet against the claims of moral panic, and he showed the world that it was a valuable resource. Thanks to him, the internet is still around today, and it is still helping people to connect with each other.
You know, that's actually pretty good. It's got an arc. It's got a protagonist and an antagonist, and that's pretty good.
You can rewrite it into a voiceover, like in a world.
Where one man.
Society, pornography, and violence. The government tried to shut down the internet.
So then I asked it to do a blurb for a book about moral panic by me, because I am actually working on a book proposal. And it was kind of bland. So then I said, can you be more enthusiastic? And it was.
Oh. It's nice to have a little plastic pal.
Scroll up.
Keep you friends.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Great.
Blurbomatic.
Yeah.
I sent my first book years ago to an author I won't name to humiliate right now because he did me a favor to blurb it. And I got back the blurb within 30 seconds.
Oh, that's too quick. That's because he didn't want to read the book, and he just thought, I'll just get him off.
Of course not. I'll give you a blurb.
So here's the more enthusiastic. This book is a must-read for anyone who wants to understand the internet. Jeff Jarvis provides a clear and concise defense of the internet against claims of moral panic. Wow. Good job. It's a little bit like a ninth grader, but okay, that's good.
Yeah, it is. It is. This stuff is such fun.
It's never feels like a machine didn't write it, though, right?
Of course. Okay. Yeah, and it is all it does is predict the next word that would work best, and work best means that would satisfy us. That's all it's doing. And people are noticing as they're using this that it gives back wrong answers all the time because it's not tied to facts.
Right.
It's tied to the flow corpus of what we've talked about on the net.
Right. Take a little break, then we'll come back and search through time with Google celebrating 25 years of search history. Our show today brought to you by My 8 Sleep. Oh, My 8 Sleep Pod Pro cover. Love it. Good sleep. It's the holy grail, right? As you get older, not much matters if you can't get a good night's sleep. It's the ultimate game changer, nature's gentle nurse. And the 8 Sleep Pod is the ultimate sleep machine. Imagine a bed that can get hotter or colder depending on the room temperature, your sleep stage, your preferences. It's amazing. Temperature is one of the main causes of poor sleep, it turns out. The 8 Sleep Pod cover is designed to make your bed the most comfortable, wonderful place you've ever visited. We got ours, oh my gosh, we got it in the winter, so at least 6 months ago. And at that time, I was having it heat up. I was getting it warmer, although it's interesting, and I think this is biological. When you go to bed, of course, you put out the fire in your log cabin, and the house is toasty. You get in bed, it's toasty warm. But then as the night passes, it cools off, and it turns out that mirrors exactly your sleep cycles into a deep sleep and then into the REM mode, and then the sleep pod starts to warm up again and bring you. In fact, I have it set to wake me up, not an alarm, but to wake me up by raising the temperature slowly, gradually, and slightly on the bed. So I go naturally. I wake up in the morning. The Pod Pro cover can go all the way down to 55 degrees Fahrenheit, all the way up to 110 degrees Fahrenheit, or anywhere in between. Plus, the sleep doctor monitors your sleep stages and will, with your permission, modify it to fit your room temperature. For instance, now that we're in the summer, it's made it a little bit cooler, and so I sleep now nice and cool. I think it's amazing. Clinical data shows that 8 Sleep users experience up to 19% increase in recovery, a 32% improvement in sleep quality, and 34% more deep sleep. And honestly, if I could just have one thing, it'd be more deep sleep. That cleansing sleep cleans out your brain, gets you ready for the next day. There's a lot of evidence that shows good sleep, consistent good sleep, reduces the risk of heart disease, lowers your blood pressure, can even reduce the risk of Alzheimer's. When you've got 8 Sleep powering your nightly sleep, you could show up as the best partner, parent version of yourself because you slept great. I love it that it knows what temperature the room is. It knows where I am in my sleep cycles and automatically adjusts. It's also so nice when you get in that toasty bed and it cools off. You never wake up sweaty hot. You never wake up freezing cold. It's really cool. Go to 8sleep.com/twig for exclusive 4th of July savings through July 10th. So you're going to want to wait. Go right now. Cool down this summer with 8 Sleep. It's now shipping within the U.S., Canada, and the U.K., as well as select countries in the EU and Australia. My sleep fitness, 89% today. I slept so well. My heart rate was 55 beats per minute at the lowest. My HRV is 46 milliseconds. It's really cool. You get the great stats. You control your sleep. You enable it. If you want, if you have Apple Health, you can enable it on Apple Health. You might want to try this for yourself. It is fantastic. Go to 8sleep.com/twig. If you're listening now, take advantage of 4th of July savings through July 10th. Wow, yesterday I got 98%. Holy cow. That's amazing. I don't think I've had 98% since a couple of nights ago. If you're listening after July 10th, use the same URL, 8sleep.com/twig. Spell it out, EIGHT, 8sleep.com/twig, and you could check out the Pod Pro cover and save $150 at checkout. So either way, you win. 8sleep.com/twig. Very happy with my 8sleep. So is Lisa, by the way. Oh, and I should mention, each side of the bed has different settings. She, for some reason, she likes it really, really warm, and now she likes it really cold. Her tastes have been changing. So her bed is one. Her side is one side. Sometimes I'll reach over and I go, "It's hot. What's going on?" She said, "I like it. It makes me feel good." So you get it the way you want it. Thank you, 8sleep, for your support. Back we go with the show. This is Google's 25th anniversary. Did you put this in, Jeff? Can you explain it to me? Search.
I just saw it right before the show. They promoted it, and I guess it's their little birthday tribute to themselves. So if you go to that page.
They launched in 1997.
No, really?
They say Google searches. Yeah, I know. Isn't that hard to believe now?
I know.
Has continued to
Is
evolve.
that-
Huh?
I guess. Okay. I remember getting. I was running an internet
Ant was
company
still, playing high school ball then, but.
All right. I was running an internet company in that time, and this refer URL came in called Backrub kept showing up.
Oh,
and
yeah,
they were
Backrub. Yeah.
hammering on my systems, and I wrote them and said, "I don't know who the heck you people are, but you need to exercise some more discipline in how you're hitting my server." I got a T1 line. It's 1.5 megabits per second.
Ooh,
and I got this old Sun workstation. Yeah, I got this old Sun workstation. You're beating up. Anyway, I thought that was before then, but I guess officially that was still at Stanford, right? So
yeah, that's
PageRank is the official launch. All right.
Here it is. Show the page if you would, Benito. Search through
cool
time.
graphic.
There we go. Scroll to explore. Okay. Here we go. 1996, PageRank. Google.com is registered as a domain. So it's a little animated timeline.
Oh, it's going to keep going, yeah.
And Google
pretty
expands.
cool.
And you can hit the play sign, and you can see the first 10 language versions of Google are released in 1998. 2000, sorry. French, German, Italian, Swedish, Finnish, Spanish, Portuguese, Dutch, Norwegian, and Danish. Today it's 150 languages. Also in 2000,
all Northern Hemisphere languages.
the first international doodle. Larry and Sergey asked Dennis Huang, an intern at the time, to produce a doodle to commemorate Bastille Day. July 14th. It is so well received that Dennis is appointed Google's first chief doodler. And doodles started appearing regularly on the Google homepage. That guy went from intern to billionaire in 0.8 seconds. Yeah. Google's index reaches 1 billion URLs. That's 22 years ago. AdWords is in.
There it goes. Everything goes downhill when capitalism
After
comes
that,
in. Yeah.
capitalism, yep. 2002, this is the first Zeitgeist. They've been doing that ever since. APIs. Google News launched 20 years ago.
Yep, they just had a party for it in New York, kind of.
That's
Great
kind of
event.
cool. Yeah. Hello. I've lost my scroll bar. I have to do it by hand now.
Yeah.
Shopping came out in 2002.
I'll bet it's there.
Leo, did Larry and Sergey come on some of your early shows pre-twit or early twit?
Yeah, I interviewed them. It must have been around 2000 on Tech TV. I remember being invited to a lunch. I've told this story. I apologize if you've heard it before. In South Park in San Francisco, that's where Twitter was invented, on the swing sets there. There was a little lunch place there. It was Larry, Sergey, a handful of other people to tell us about their new thing. We all got little Brio trains that spelled out Google in cut out wood. I wish I had that Google train still. I don't know where that went. It had just started. And I remember Larry, who was the creator of PageRank, and I think kind of the scientist in this, saying something, and Sergey explained to me what Larry had just said.
Yeah.
Larry said, for us to improve our algorithm, the most interesting thing is the end, when you get to the end. And I said, end of what? The end of the search? Yeah. When you get to the bottom. And Larry, I didn't understand what he said, and Sergey explained, and I still don't understand what he was talking about. But anyway, Sergey tried to explain. But something about I guess the gist of it is the outliers are what tell you how you're doing in search, not the main big results,
Not the top feed.
but the outliers. So
Okay.
that's all I remember, and obviously I never learned a thing from that. Google Books, 2004. Google Local.
More trouble.
I'm impressed. They put Google Books and given the. I mean, it's great. I have no complaints about it. But given the years and years of litigation and
They still offer those books. They've scanned more than 40 million
invaluable.
books. Yeah.
It's
I would
invaluable.
not be able-
Hathi Trust.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We wouldn't be able to do our
Publishers
work.
hated it.
Hathi Trust is amazing. Yeah, is so lucky. We live in a golden age.
Yeah.
I think about how people did, how you'd have to go to library, get interlibrary loans and photocopy things, type stuff up. That's where and that would be like
library
1999.
Cornell has it, and now you can have it.
One of
No,
the
I mean, that would be
first
20
Google
years
Easter
ago.
eggs, if you asked in 2002, what is the answer to life, the universe, and everything, it would pop up a calculator with the answer 42. 42 from the great, of course, Douglas Adams.
Now, where is
Hitchhiker's Guide
that
to the Galaxy?
damned tab?
Yeah, I lost the tab. You knew what I was doing. What happened? Where'd I go?
I've been there, done that.
Yeah. 2005, mobile web search on a flip phone. Sitemaps, which is important
Everybody
for
loves
webmasters.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. I
Hurricane
remember that.
Katrina. Google's response to that was a roadmap for future responses to disasters to help you find critical information. Eventually, they would put up pages of survivors and things like that. The first Doodle for Google contest. Yeah, the CSS is funky in this. You know why? I'm using Firefox. They're punishing me.
There you go. There you go.
Punishing
I was
me.
gonna say, because mine's just
Yeah,
gliding
no.
right now.
Yeah, you're using Chrome probably, right?
I'm in Safari mobile and it's just
Brave.
fine. I'm on an iPad.
right,
It's great.
all right.
Working perfectly.
2007. Here's 2010 product listing ads. Help in the time of crisis. That's the person finder. That was the Haiti earthquake. That was a big deal, right?
Oh, yeah.
Caffeine, the new web indexing system with 50% fresher results. Image search launched in 2010. How many times have we used Google image search, right? Very important. 2012, the knowledge graph, graphing calculator built into Google search. If Apple won't put it on the iPad, at least you got it in your search engine, right? Come on.
Where'd that cursor go?
Golly, I have to drag like a animal. I have to drag it.
Use Chrome, you fool.
No, I will not use Chrome. Leitsung Siegrecht. Feature snippets, a format that shows page description or snippet above the link to the page. Started in 2014, of course, got Google in a lot of trouble. Still in trouble with publishers who say, you're stealing our content.
You stole my soul.
You stole it. 2014, Google My Business. People also ask. HTTPS, that's when Google began its really strong push, successful, by the way, to make every site HTTPS. They said, we're going to rank you higher if you use secure TCP/IP. Popular Times, I didn't know that had been around since 2015. Popular Times at restaurants. For the first time in 2015, more Google searches were completed on mobile devices than desktop computers. That started in 2015. That's a landmark, right? When it's shifted to mobile.
Yeah, when I remember meeting with folks at Google around that time. They said, we don't care about the desktop.
For some reason, in 2016, they launched Fact Check. I don't know why.
Where's the entry for when they tried with a Chris Sagoyan scenario? Is that in there somewhere? Where they, was it Google or was it Facebook? I forget who was trying to get the other to do disinformation about them. I can't remember which one it was.
Wow. Flood forecasting, neural matching. We're getting up into the present here. If I could just drag it to the right. Come on, man. I know you can.
I apologize. That was Facebook trying to get, that was 2011.
Oh, okay.
Facebook trying to get Google targeted.
Well, you're never going to see this in Facebook, right? The timeline of Facebook's failings.
Oh, your cursor's there. Grab it.
You wouldn't be able to use it because the page would constantly be pivoting. It would just be spinning around and around,
spinning
and around.
round and round its axis. So there you go. I think that's kind of fun. The history of Google search.
What's
25
multi-search?
years. Multi-search. Well, I guess we can
Multi-search.
go beyond the search box with multi-search.
Funny you should ask, Jeff.
We're always dreaming up new ways to help you uncover the information you're looking for. This is something relatively new. They launched in beta in April, using text and images at the same time.
Sure. I'd like to see Google's burial site too, where there's a Twitter account that does that, but it's everything that Google killed. Would be a fun
yeah.
Parallel graphic.
Yeah, that'd be good. They could do a little.
Google.
Yeah, killed by Google. That'd be fun to have a little timeline.
That's right.
Yeah,
should remember that. It's an easy one.
By the way, I just want to make a note. I was reading the Supreme Court decision on the Pretty Woman case, and they, in fact, and I think this must be a first for the Supreme Court, feature in the appendix of the decision both the original Roy Orbison lyrics and the Two Live Crew lyrics. Big hairy woman, you need to shave that stuff. Big hairy woman, you know, I bet it's tough. Big hairy woman, all that hair, it ain't legit because you look like Cousin It. Big hairy woman.
Huh. It's Addams Family reference. It's like a deep cut.
Bald-headed woman, girl, your hair won't grow. Bald-headed woman, you got a teeny-weeny afro. Bald-headed woman, you know your. Do you know this song? Anybody? I don't know this song. Bald-headed woman.
Plead the fifth.
You know your hair could look nice. Bald-headed woman, first you got to roll it with rice. Bald-headed woman here, let me get this hunk of biz for ya. You know what I'm saying? You look better than Rice-A-Roni. The San Francisco Treat reference.
It's so bad.
Yeah, it's really
so bad.
But
start while you're ahead.
Qualifies as parody, and that's all that matters. I just love that Justice David Souter had to put that lyric.
Put it on the official
decision on the record.
I hope he read it out in that
A pretty woman
man voice.
walking down the street. Pretty woman. Okay.
On
Johnny
the
Carson,
official
very
record.
good.
Rise of the woebots. The Guardian asks, why are robots so sad? So sad.
Oh my.
Are they? Is that true?
Well, Lambda, when you have a pagan priest asking you questions, Lambda was sad.
Yeah.
So I did do one more thing with GPT-3. I asked it to tell me jokes.
Yeah.
That didn't work so well.
Oh. No. Well, that's a relief. At least there's something.
So they're not happy,
humans.
robots.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they make the case in this article that they're sad.
They're sad.
AI reflects back what we are. So if we're sad, it's sad.
Marvin,
we
the
have reason to
paranoid
be.
android who had that ache and pain all up and down the diodes of his side. Don't talk to me about life. He was really sad. Marvin was the saddest of all.
Are you back to that nerd book? What's that?
That's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Nerd book. Yeah, I'm afraid to tell you this. I think you might be a nerd also. Or are you a geek? Are you a geek?
I'm fringe on all of that.
All right.
Here I am, brain the size of a planet, and they tell me to take you up to the bridge.
Call this job satisfaction because I don't.
I don't. Pardon me for breathing, which I should never do anyway, so I don't know why I bother to say it. Oh, God, I'm so depressed.
The press robot, as Mr. Burke says in the chat. That's what I remember. It's the press.
I will send you the original BBC radio Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is the really one and only true version of that. And Marvin is beautifully brought to life in that.
There are a handful of people kicking around in the Mac community who worked on the software company that made was it Battleship Titanic, I think, and some of the games, the text adventure games. And they kick around the Mac world like James Thompson, who coincidentally makes a James Thompson makes
for Zork, the Zork folks.
It wasn't Zorg. It was a different company in the UK.
Oh, okay.
Oh, don't forget.
Because Infocom did a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy text adventure.
No, David or Douglas would come into the office, and everyone kind of knew he's a very nice guy. And so James Thompson, in honor, his PCalc software, which is calculator software for your Apple TV. Or he's going on 25 plus years with it. It has 42 is in the logo, always in the logo.
As it should be.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
Hitchhiker's Guide permeates Macintosh culture, I got to say. There is kind of,
geek
for some
culture.
reason.
Look at the answer to the
It's true.
question in the Google search.
Google.
It is It is. We all have our. You know what? Earlier today, actually, this is very germane. What day is Towel Day? It's in June, I think. But earlier today, we had a little problem in my studio. There was a dripping coming down from the ceiling. I looked up. There was a bulge on the tile where apparently there was a massive well of water accumulating. I screamed like a woman. I screamed, ah! And the engineering staff came running. But you know who really saved the day? Mr. Jerry Wagley, who had his towel.
Always knows where his towel is.
He knows where his towel is. And there it is, the ZDTV towel, mopping up the water in my office.
This came up. This came up just the other day.
There was a little photobomb there.
Yes, I saw.
We're trying to put some. We're trying to put some planting on our front lawn so that we can be a little screened from the sidewalk, just a little bit. And my 15-year-old says, "Well, you don't have to do that. You should go down and look at the sight line." I'm like, "Wait a minute. If I can't see them, they can't see you." And of course, I think of the bug bladder beast of Trawl.
Oh yes,
a creature so fundamentally idiotic that it believed that if you put your towel over your head, since you couldn't see it, it couldn't see you. So I didn't accuse them of that, but I said refraction, sight lines. If you've taken physics, if you can't see me, I can't see you.
Brilliant. I want to send Ant I have in my Dropbox, Ant, and I'm going to share it with you, the original BBC Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I've read the books, I've seen the movie, but there is really this all began when Douglas Adams was writing this as a BBC radio play.
Writing it as it was recorded.
Writing it like down to the minute. Yeah.
I love deadlines. I love the sound of them whooshing past my head, as he said.
Look here, sir. I'm down to 3 hours, 19 minutes on termination shot.
Wow.
Please don't send me something else to read.
No. This is not to read. This is something you can let wash over you like those.
It's wonderful.
Like those deadlines. It's really perhaps the best thing ever recorded. Let me see here where I have it in my data directory. I think so.
It's funny. I know it's special because you knew it specifically in Dropbox as we're here.
Oh yeah,
right
it's in my vault. Yeah,
I actually have a fond space in my heart for the version with Mos Def and Martin Smith and who's the other
That's
person?
the one that I saw, and I'm like,
it's
why
a little.
did I watch this?
It's impenetrable, I think, if you didn't read the books, because it's almost like a quick flip through it. It steals from something. So I think if you don't know the books, I don't think it holds together as a movie, but as a window into. And Bill Nighy is Slarta Bart Fast.
Oh, I love Bill Nighy, so I would love
wonderful.
it for that reason alone. Yeah,
I've watched some weird stuff, but I remember thinking, boy, this is weird.
It's very. It's
the movie was
incomprehensible.
Is that the movie or a TV show?
The movie.
The movie. Yeah, from like 10 years ago.
Terrible. I don't think.
Oh, I
did you? You loved it?
I love it.
But maybe because you already loved.
What gets me is everybody that told me to watch that movie when I came back with my complaints. They were like, well, you should have read the book first. And I said, well, you never recommended I read
tell
the
me
book.
that.
That's not fair. No, I don't think it worked as a movie. I think it worked as a love letter to readers.
That's what it really was. Yeah.
Word.
I'll send you the original, the audio play, because it's actually, to me, it's one of the greatest. And the only reason I was aware of it, I didn't hear it on the BBC, but Boston Public Radio, WGBH, played it all the way through every Saturday. And
cool.
I think I recorded it. I think that's how I have a copy of it. Because I don't.
Whoops.
Yeah, I don't think it's like generally available for download. Maybe it is if you look around. I don't think you can buy it or anything. Let's talk about the flat Earth.
What? Shall we?
What now?
Great article on the Next Web, TNW.
Uh-oh.
I almost didn't put this in, sir, just so you
I
know.
bookmarked it because I liked it so damn much. It's actually an article published. It was published in The Conversation, and then TNW republished it, so I saw it there. I watched hundreds of flat Earth videos to learn how conspiracy theories spread and what it could mean for fighting disinformation. I'll give you the TLDR.
Thank you.
There's not much to learn. Basically, countering disinformation is difficult when people internalize it as a personal belief. Well, yeah.
Shocking.
Fact-checking can be ineffective and backfire because disinformation becomes a personal opinion or, more importantly, a value. So you're attacking their values.
I was told facts don't care about your feelings, though.
Yeah, well, and apparently feelings don't care about your facts. Yes.
And feelings don't care about your facts either, apparently.
Yeah.
Feelings, that's good.
If you can identify the rationality behind their specific beliefs, a counter-argument can engage that logic if you can propose a homemade experiment. But overall, beliefs like flat earth theory, QAnon, and the great replacement theory grow because they appeal to a sense of group identity under attack. It's precisely because people are attacking you for your beliefs that they solidify that you adhere to them, because you're on this in-group that is being attacked. Even far-fetched misinformation and conspiracies can seem rational if they fit into existing grievances. Since debates on social media require only posting content, participants create a feedback loop that solidifies disinformation as points of view that cannot be fact-checked. So,
Okay, easy thing. You put them in the bottom of a well, and they can just reproduce the method. I'm sure we'll just take people, put them in the bottom of a well.
Yeah.
And they can reproduce the method that was used in ancient Greece.
Eratosthenes or somebody, right?
Oh, very good. Eratosthenes, that sounds right. It's a flat earth thing is hilarious because nobody has thought the earth, I shouldn't say nobody. The primary belief among people who engaged in various kinds of philosophical and scientific work across millennia has been that the earth is round because it's easily proven. So you can go to all these cultures at their height and some that maintain their height for millennia, and they're like, yeah, the earth's round. It doesn't do us any good, but it's round. We think it might be 14,000 miles around. That was wrong, but
Eratosthenes had heard from travelers about a well in Egypt with an interesting property. At noon on the summer solstice, the sun illuminated the entire bottom of the well without casting any shadows, indicating the sun was directly overhead. He measured the angle of a shadow cast by a stick at noon on the summer solstice in Alexandria, which was some distance away from that well, found it made an angle of 7.2 degrees. 1/50 of the complete circle, did the calculation, came up with an estimate that the circumference of the round Earth, I should point out, this is in 500 BC.
Well, it is circumference, you said.
Circumference of the round, or actually 276 BC. He estimated it to be about between 24,000 and 29,000 miles. It is, in fact, exactly 24,900 miles. So he pretty much nailed it.
Yeah.
Good.
Mm-hmm. By putting a stick in a well. So we've now...
If you just pay attention during math class.
There you go.
If you show kids a stick today, they won't listen.
They don't get it. Find me a well. I'll show you.
Give me a lever big enough, and I'll move the earth. Come on.
That's right.
I'm fulcruming here.
I'm fulcruming here. I'm fulcruming here.
It's my new catchphrase.
That's good. I think a bumper sticker would be handy. Yeah. I'm fulcruming here. Meta warns employees of serious times. Should we be concerned?
Where's the serious music here?
We are in serious times here, and the headwinds are fierce. An internal memo warning of a leaner second half 2022 from Chief Product Officer Chris Cox. I have to underscore, Cox wrote that we are in serious times here. The headwinds are fierce. We need to execute flawlessly in an environment of slower growth where teams should not expect vast influxes of new engineers and budgets. Wait a minute. This is exactly the memo Lisa just wrote. If your ceiling bursts, it's on you. The biggest revenue challenge continues to come from privacy changes affecting Meta's ad business and macroeconomic pressures.
And by the way, your stock options are gurgling underwater, folks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Monetizing.
Are they doing restricted stock units, or do they do options at Meta?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I mean, that was Microsoft's secret, is they kept people during some bad times because they switched to RSUs. Yeah.
I got RSUs at Time Inc. at the worst possible time in the middle of a takeover fight with Paramount and Warner. And so it was at the highest it was ever was going to be. and I only recently got rid of the last of them.
Oh, man.
Because I'm an
Facebook
idiot.
gives you RSUs. They learn
There's
their
RSUs.
lesson.
So that's not bad.
Okay.
Easier to make money that way. It's easier to
is.
entice people, too, because you can say, here's $1 million worth of these if you come and work at our lousy company. Oh, sorry, our company.
Yeah.
I didn't say lousy. No editorializing.
Facebook
Never hear.
RSUs. This is from the product manual. Not the product manual. This is from the employee handbook. Facebook RSUs are a valuable benefit for Facebook employees. As long as you understand the tax implications of the investment and plan accordingly with your tax advisor, it can be a benefit greater than traditional stock options offer. Thank you.
I'll tell you, Microsoft, is a dominant force, and Amazon in the Seattle area. And I was at the eye doctor with my one of my older kids the other day, and we were talking about benefits. They're like, "Oh, do you have Microsoft insurance?" We're like, "No." They're like, "Oh, too bad." And it's like it is such a gold.
I have
it's such a
Boeing
gold
insurance.
handcuff here.
Oh, get out of here.
No. If we have individual insurance, but it's not bad for pediatric optical. But it's I had a friend who his husband worked for Microsoft. She's like, "I got my braces for free." It's just it's incredible what they do.
Well,
it's restricted stock units and good benefits.
Yep.
So.
Among other things, Facebook says we have to monetize Reels as quickly as possible. This is Chris Cox again. And we talked about this yesterday.
I'm fine with that.
Reels, Instagram has just basically turned into TikTok, right?
TikTok clone.
If you post a video, it's a Reel automatically on Instagram.
Ant seemed to scowl a bit at that.
Well, the thing is, I'm fortunate where I'm not just a photographer that shoots stills. I also shoot video stuff, so I'm fine with it. But the folks that don't do the video stuff, it sucks for the photography community because now their work is being just suppressed and pushed down because they're not posting video content. And I've done the A/B testing before, whether it's on TikTok or Instagram, particularly Instagram. I see what people are viewing in my analytics and can see where the comments are. And people will comment on an image that's posted 3-4 days ago as if it was just posted right now. But the video content, they see that pretty quickly.
And so the algo is pushing the video.
Oh, yeah. And there's some other things in place, too, but I won't get into all of that. But it's I'm fine with this. If they want to start monetizing Reels, sure, I'm fine with that. I believe I'm eligible for it anyway.
Yeah, monetizing it would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It ain't TikTok yet, but
it's nowhere near.
The problem is I have TikTok. I want Instagram to be Instagram. I miss the old stills of Instagram. That was a great way to share photos.
Same here. I mean, the whole algorithmic feed versus the following feed, I think that's what they call it. That's fallacy because I click on that to make sure it's only showing me the people I follow, and it still will throw in suggested posts of things that I don't care anything about.
Yeah.
And it drives me nuts. So I'm still missing out on a lot of the people that I want to see unless I actively search for them.
And the search is so bad on Instagram. I can never find people. I mean, it's talk about search engines. Just improve that one. Yeah. Neither of them feel like it's important to let people search because they want to push you to where it provides them the best revenue response.
Is that the strategy? I've never been able to figure out why. If you want to find a friend, you can't.
Arguably, why would they let you search on what you want? Because that doesn't produce them the best outcome. You're the product.
But if you find more friends, you're happier.
Well, I don't have a problem finding people. It's always like it's keywords or not even keywords. I mean, Instagram is focused a lot around keywords. I mean, I know Ant, you probably have strategies for this. I have so many friends who post on Instagram and there's like 40 keywords in their description because that's the only way, isn't it, to get people to find you?
Sure enough, put those tags in and it'll
TikTok's
push it on
worse. They put hashtags for random products in there too. I guess. I mean, it's crazy what's going on.
But you were saying, Mr. Laporte, it's definitely not a TikTok, and I agree with that because at least TikTok does a good job, or a fairly good job of suggesting content to you. Granted, you follow @salt_Hank, who has over a gazillion followers right now. I barely get to see his content, even though I actively follow him. But they do try to push up. Yeah, but they do try to push up other things to me that would interest me. Instagram, on the other hand, they're constantly showing me a bunch of teenagers doing weird stuff that I care nothing about, or people fighting, and I'm like, really, I don't want to see any of this stuff.
Yeah. Do you get the one? It's a very cool process, but I've seen it a lot. And Jeff, you'll appreciate this as somebody interested in printing technology. It's the thing where they print ceramics, where they use this thing and it goes bloop in some ink, and then it goes bloop, and then it puts a dish underneath and it goes bloop.
I love that.
I get this all the time. What? Yeah, it's beautiful.
No, I've not seen that.
It's an incredible thing. The pattern is like this flexible, gooey, like almost rubbery looking thing, and it's got the entire interior pattern of like a dish, like a plate or a bowl or something. So like those when you go to a Chinese restaurant, they have those beautifully like blue fish decorated patterns around a bowl. This is what makes it. Is this thing goes. The pattern is on the rubber surface. It goes boop onto a pad of ink, comes up, a bowl goes in, and it goes boop, and it fills the entire space perfectly and deposits the ink. I'm sorry, these sounds too much.
I'm just hoping someone captured a GIF of this.
Yeah.
But Instagram wants to push that at me all the time. Here's how these bowls are made. Like,
this is actually an argument.
I dare you to make bloop a show title.
This is an argument for why TikTok is great, because you said Instagram. Do you mean TikTok, or do you see this on Instagram?
Me on Instagram. I don't do the tick or the talk.
It used to be a big TikTok meme, so it must have spread over to Instagram. But somebody was making this case, I think maybe it was on Twitter on Sunday. You were here, Glenn. But the TikTok is really opening our eyes to all sorts of things we would never seen before, including industrial processes. I think that's partly because a lot of the original TikTokers were Chinese, showing how they were manufacturing the world's goods. But it's actually quite fascinating.
One of my favorites is the_captain_Mark on TikTok.
Ooh.
He's a Maersk container ship captain.
There you go.
Oh,
and
neat. Okay.
I'm fascinated by it, right? Videos of these containers going down 10 levels and up, and little factoids about how he does his work. It's weird. But I love it.
Well, I'm following him right now, although, as you point out, Ant, following him doesn't necessarily get you any more of his stuff than...
But I do get a lot of his, because I obviously like it.
Well, what you do,
I also do with Hank, and I don't get it.
Yeah, the real trick is to go, every time you see something you want to see more of in the For You page, which is the random page,
right?
You go into it and you look at a few videos from it. You're set, and I've noticed you can really... if you want bikini-rich content, go in there and look at the bikinis, and you will get more. So whatever it is, you signal.
But I've done that with Hank, and I don't get Hank.
I get a lot. Well, I don't get Hank. I get a lot of cooking, is what I get.
I get a lot of cooking, but I'm specifically looking for Hank.
Yeah,
because I'm curious.
You have
to
to
see
search.
What he's doing.
Yeah, you just have to search, unfortunately, which is too bad. I know exactly what you're talking about, though, with the bloop bloop thing, and I saw that originally on TikTok, and it's my guess that it's appearing now on your Instagram because of TikTok envy, frankly. On Instagram. Yeah. I
mean, I love industrial processes. Show me more industrial processes.
I agree. Watching how that stuff is made is fascinating. All right, I've been just testing Benito. He has, for the last hour and a half, had his finger hovered over the changelog button. And Benito, you are a rock. You are stellar, because now... you can finally release the hounds. It's time for the Google changelog.
The Google changelog.
Look at that. Unbelievable. Timing. So good.
But you might as well play the next one now, because there's not much of the changelog.
There's 4 items. It is the world's shortest changelog. Android's July security patch is rolling out to the Pixel. Factory images. That's about right. Usually takes about a week into the month. It's coming out. July 2022 update now rolling out to Galaxy devices as well. That's unusual. That's good, Samsung. Good job. Google Photos is now rolling out. A lot of rolling happening on the changelog today. Rolling out a new pop-up.
Not much else.
Yeah, that's it. It's all rolls. New pop-up UI for quick sharing and library management. I haven't seen it yet, but look for a new interface to quick sharing. I do actually really love these highlights and things that they generate. So I end up sharing those a lot. Pictures of pets and things like that.
Yeah, I like the little memory stuff that pops up.
Yeah. Apple does pretty well too with that on their.
But the last 2 years, it's ridiculous. It's just like
I've
had no life for the last 2 years.
Masks,
Right.
lots of masks.
Yeah.
And there is a new 0-day threat, the 4th of the year for Google Chrome. We talked about it yesterday on Security Now. Good news. There is a patch. Your Google Chrome will be patched. It's a fairly serious 0-day, so make sure you get the update to your Google Chrome. Should happen automatically. And that's the Google changelog.
That was fast.
All right. I am ready. I know you are for the picks of the week. That's coming up next as we continue with a very fun This Week in Google. Thanks, Glenn Fleischman, for filling in. Stacy's got a couple of weeks off. We really appreciate you coming in. It's always good
Pleasure to be here. Yeah. Thank you for having me on. Pleasure to be here.
You're taking
Stacy's in
advantage.
Paris and you're here. Who won?
She's in Paris. Oh, man. She's at that, what do they call it? Whammo Namo? Whammo Wowo?
Yeah.
Low-ran?
Yeah, she's speaking on something about open IoT, I believe is what she said.
Low-ran. Low-ra-ron.
Somebody's hit Leo. He's gone to he's crashed.
Low-ran.
Yep.
Do you have a pick of the week for us, Mr. Fleischman?
I do, and it's very appropriate. I think, given the audience, it's a book by a graphic design production person who works in movies, which is a very specialized thing. I saw some images from it and got a copy. It's called Fake Love Letters. Forged telegrams and prison escape maps, designing graphic props for filmmaking. And it's just got wonderful details in it. And I mean, I love this stuff. I eat it up. But it's just, it's a loving little book. It's not a big book, but it's just kind of about the process of making films look like they're lived in, and looking and even the degree of research they go where they are like, oh, that didn't exist in 1922. We can't put that in. But this is one of my favorite things.
Look at that.
She did some research and found this sign on the left. It's a legitimate sign that shows steamed eels and mashed potatoes.
Oh, God.
Always ready. Well, common dish. This is from 1900. Common dish of the time. Eels were very popular eaten in England, and then her version for a film where they're trying to recreate that feeling. But she said, this is the thing, is the eels part in mashed potatoes, not surprising. The always ready part is the thing. She said, I couldn't guess that without doing the research.
Compare the ampersands. Wait, Glenn, hold on there. Compare the ampersands.
Yeah. Oh, hers is not too bad. Let's see. Hold up.
The modern
version,
the modern ampersand is so different. Well, that's pretty
what I'm
good.
saying, yeah.
Yeah, no,
now look at hers. No, it's the same. Okay.
It's a little bit cleaned up, but
right.
it's I think this was for
I love ampersands in
Penny Dreadful. But it's just fun to see how it's a great mix of. I'll tell you, there's other thing. It's very tactile. I can't do this on a podcast or videocast, but there's actually a special kind of varnish, so the cover's smooth, and this area that shows the matchbook has a little bit of texture on it. So it's not just shiny, which most varnish is. It's actually got a little bit of rough feel to it. So anyway, I just found this a delightful thing to read because it's about creating new things and just the complexities of movie prop making without going super inside baseball. Like they had to make, if you want to put one bloodstained telegram into a movie, as appears in, I think it's the Grand Budapest Hotel, you have to make like 47 of them that look nearly identical, because what happens when they have to shoot that scene again and again, you can't not have these props available. Here we go. That's the spread.
Look at that.
So they're all slightly different, but close enough. Because they have to design it, and then make these multiples. So anyway, it's a fun read. It's a short book, and it's just beautiful and beautifully designed, and that made me happy.
Annie Atkins, Fake Love Letters, Forged Telegrams, and Prison Escape Maps, designing graphic props for filmmaking, available in paperback from Amazon. There's an analogous craft called playback that maybe is more timely, which is those computer screens you see in movies and TV shows. There is a person, I've talked to them because they use stuff from our show sometimes, that does that makes those screens, and they make.
That's great.
That would be a great book. I'd love to, or a video or something. I'd love to see more about that. It also reminds me of when we went to see Hamilton in New York. Every once in a while on Broadway, they do these benefits for Broadway Cares where they're auctioning off things. And I kick myself because I didn't stick around and buy this, but they were selling. There's a moment in Hamilton where I think, is it his wife burns his love letters?
Yes. Yeah.
They throw the love letters in and they burn them. They were selling those love letters from the set.
Oh, dude.
Same thing. Somebody had to make them every show. Somebody had to make their love letters.
Thousands of those.
They were selling them, and along with autograph posters, a bunch of other things. And I gave them money for Broadway Cares. I always do, but I wish I had stuck around. There was quite a press in the lobby. I wish I'd stuck around to buy those because that would have been, in hindsight, that would have been something to have.
Jeff will fire up his iron hand press and make you some duplicate letters, I'm sure.
But those were on the stage. That's
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I know you hate Hamilton and everything, Amp, but, that's pretty cool.
I didn't say I hated Hamilton. I said I don't like musicals.
Yeah. If you're going to like any musical.
That's exactly what I said.
That's a pretty good musical.
I love musicals, but I understand exactly why people hate musicals.
Yeah, me too.
I'm ecumenical.
Yeah. I happen to be on the love musicals side, obviously.
I am.
Totally get it.
Jeff Jarvis, a number for us, please.
Well, I'll have one in a second, but I've got to make Glenn jealous. I went to a used bookstore last week, and I got this, Chronicles of Genius and Folly.
Oh.
It is a history of the R. Ho printing press company.
Oh, my.
We just geeked out together.
What's that from, like 1923 or something? 1930?
1979.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, Ho was the HOE was the early manufacturer of press, and then a lot of other equipment helped transition printing from a kind of quiet little industry into this massive. I have a picture of a press. It's a 10-man press, and literally it's like 40 feet high, and people are standing on each level feeding paper
in. Yeah,
it looks ridiculous, but it was real.
It's what made mass media possible.
Yeah,
but that's
why we're here today.
That was my little moment for Glenn there.
Thank
we
you.
geek out on these things.
Notice, Jeff,
I've been handed this, the curatorial care of works of art on paper. Had I only bought those Hamilton love letters, I would be able to conserve them. Burke,
Nice.
this is like how to keep mold and insects off of them, acidity.
Where did this come from?
Why do we have this in the studio?
It's probably camera right back there in the corner where everything else is.
Oh my God!
Monitoring
I worked in a conservation lab once. It's a very, very.
Are you trying to restore some art, Bert? Oh, he's trying to restore some art.
Oh, wow, that's a great field.
Have you learned about the removal of old matting material?
Very complicated.
It's very complicated. Not an easy thing to do.
You gotta use special glues.
Disinfecting by fumigation.
There's a great book from the 1800s called "The Enemy of Books," and it includes things like children and the help. It's
the help often have sticky fingers.
Facts.
Yes,
Factual.
Insects, but also children
and help
and your maids.
I can't believe you had this to hand, Burke. Thank you.
That's amazing.
Thank you very much. He is our
That's awesome.
Our official restorer.
Jeff, I just want to point out the red linotype book in my real background here.
I saw that.
Finally got one.
You did, yeah. What year?
I don't know. I have to pull it off, but it's 2020s. It's a little distressed copy, but now I've got one of my own.
Those are the font sample books, which are just beautiful. It's just amazing.
Would you two get a room?
This is not my pick. Lens here.
Just give us this week in fonts. We'll be all set.
Yeah, we are. By the way, I had to learn that a font is one. Tell me if I'm wrong here, Glenn. A font is one size. The design is the typeface.
One size and style. That's right. Because you would create a font. You would buy a font of type. There's a Walt Whitman poem called "The Font of Type." In fact, about that.
And just
right here.
Just as long as we're like squaring the circle, here is a video of printing on ceramics.
Oh, can I make a blue?
Oh, good, you found it.
Yes. Just watch. Here's the bloop.
Do the sound effects here, Glenn, please.
And here comes the bowl.
Never saw this. Wow.
Isn't this incredible?
Okay, that's pretty cool. Oh, wow.
Okay, if you're just
Incredible.
watching, if you're just listening, you're just going to have to imagine a giant rubber bloop. I want
But would you ever? This is what I love about manufacturing processes. Would you ever have imagined this, like Dr. Seuss thing was how those were made?
It's totally
I think it was
Dr. Seuss.
sprayed on through a stencil or something.
Yeah, it's totally Dr.
Some
Seuss.
poor little lady sitting there.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
licking
painting
the brush,
dead
getting
eye,
cancer.
eyes going. Nope, it's bloop, bloop, bloop.
Any other picks, numbers?
Well, I just want to show. I've never shown this since Glenn's here.
How about Arby's Old Spice?
I'm going to get to that.
Oh, wait a minute.
This
The
is a
Autumn Tide of
magnificent
Middle
book.
Ages. Wow. What is
Autumn Tide of the Middle Ages by Johann Hunziker is a magnificent history. Beautiful book. One of the most beautiful books I've ever owned.
Interesting.
And not cheap. All right. Now that's the classy me. Now we go to the real me. And
it's hard to compete with a giant Cheez-It, but I think you might
here today.
Might have found it. Yes.
Arby's Old Spice and Old Spice come together
It's
for a marketing marriage.
What the kids
made
call
in heaven.
a collab between Old Spice and Arby's. Show my screen, Benito. Here you go. Get ready for the meat sweats. Arby's half-pound roast beef piled high. And, of course, you eat that. Oh, wait a minute. I'll turn on this. Let's turn on the sound. Can you turn on the sound? We didn't check our sound. I don't know if we have the sound.
Arby's half-pound roast beef piled high with...
Meat sweats!
Who said that?
Old Spice Meat Sweat Defense. Defends against the meat sweats. I'm on a horsey sauce.
Arby's, we have the...
Meat sweats!
Arby's half-pound
That is the
roast
strangest.
beef
It's
piled-
not a real ad. Or is it?
It is. No, it is. Yeah. What are they promoting though? I don't even know.
Their
I mean,
giant
is it
half-pound
Arby's?
of roast beef sandwich.
I need that sandwich.
By the way, are you horsey sauce fans?
I'm on a horsey
love
sauce.
horsey
Wait a minute.
sauce.
They have horsey sauce? That's not made up.
Yeah.
No, that's
Oh
real.
no, it's not at
I've
all.
been-
Oh no, for
I've
years.
been in
That's
Arby's.
legit sauce.
Why do they call it horsey sauce?
Horseradish.
Horseradish. Yeah.
I have not been in an Arby's for 30 years, maybe longer.
Oh, bless your heart.
Am I missing out?
I go a couple of times a year. I just like plain old roast beef sandwiches.
But is it
That's
really roast beef? It's so pink. I feel like it might be made out of
Is it really
rubber.
a kangaroo or something?
It feels like it's formed. It's not like
Roast
sliced
beef.
off a roast.
So I used to work
It
at
tastes
Ponderosa
good.
Steakhouse.
Yeah.
And all of our beef came from low-grade Australian beef.
Oh.
And if you took a raw defrosted steak and you bent it back, you saw needle marks every quarter inch.
they're
of the whole
tenderizing
thing.
it.
The tenderizer, right.
Yeah.
So yes, it may be beef, Leo, but who knows where it comes from?
Low quality Australian beef.
Hey, it tastes fine.
All right, I'll take your word for it because you were not wrong about the Popeyes chicken
Yeah, the
sandwich.
Popeyes chicken sandwich.
I was right. Now, I didn't know when my son lived in Boston. I would go to Boston, and I could never understand. Finally, just as he was moving away, why does everybody in Boston have roast beef? Pizza and roast beef. It makes no sense. Pizza and roast beef.
It's the Irish
I
in them.
finally had a Massachusetts roast beef sandwich with horseradish and
Yum.
man,
Dude.
that's the real thing.
All right, it's no
That
clam
is the
cake,
real
but I'll
thing.
grant you.
It's good.
I was in the
It's
land of
good.
clam cakes last week and had more than my share. Let's put it that way. Also had some Dunkin'. Now it is time for Aunt Pruitt and his pick of the week.
All right, mine will be quick. First one, I just want to do a bit of a public service announcement.
Yes.
I know a lot of folks have been wanting to get into being more healthy, getting out exercising, even buying a bike if you can get your hands on one, particularly e-bikes. Well, Walmart has come to the rescue to give us an e-bike. And I want to tell you, don't buy that bike.
Oh, thank you.
Whoa!
It's $1,500. You're saving me some money.
Do not buy that bike. It's a e-bike mountain bike. And I've had mountain bikes in the past. I used to ride quite a bit, but now doctor's orders tell me not to ride.
Oh, that's sad.
No.
I'd love
So,
to ride.
well, because of crashing. So, and I don't want to destroy my replaced hip.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I've had inexpensive bikes before. I've had bikes from Walmart and other inexpensive bikes. They do not last. So do not spend $1,500 on this e-bike as much as they're trying to sell it. get something else. Get you a non-e-bike for a lot less.
You did a
money.
review on an e-bike for us, and I'm trying to remember what.
Yes, I did. Van Moof.
The Van Moof. These are like considered kind of the top of the line Dutch.
Van Moofs are quite nice.
Yeah,
those bikes
are quite expensive. Really nice. But you like the Van Moof.
You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah. You get what you pay for. Yeah, that's it. The Van Moof.
There are some real breakthroughs in e-bike. I'm a huge e-bike fan. I love electric bikes. But
the one on the left is what I demoed.
Yeah, the step
one
through.
On the left.
Oh, you had the one with the
much?
bar, huh?
How much?
Oh, they're like.
It's like $3,200, I think.
That's not bad.
No,
actually, it's not bad. I mean, we have a Specialized for our kid. It was $7,000. This is $3,000. Yeah, the S5. Yeah, that is actually not bad. And look how elegant it is. You don't have a big ugly battery on the thing.
I mean, I believe Mr. Nielsen coined it the Tesla of bikes.
Don't insult the thing.
Pretty. No, it was just really pretty, beautiful lines. You didn't see any of the cabling, and there's a review out there on our website somewhere.
Yes,
and I'm looking at Rad Bikes because I have one.
I have 3 Rad Power bikes.
That's great. There you have I think they're headquartered in Seattle, so I can go and test them out here. But
I love ours.
Nice. Seem to have some good entry level models for a non-mountain bike version. Yeah. I'm very curious.
We have Lisa has the fat tire one. I have the city step through. They're excellent. They're lower cost, so. You're gonna. Some of the components won't be the best, like the brake pads. You have to replace the brake pads every once in a while, things like that. But I really like our Rad Power. Really great bikes. Yeah, I could recommend those. And the Electrek does reviews of electric bikes, which I trust. I think they're quite good. They're an electric car magazine as well, and they have some good recommendations. But I love my Rad Power. I'm very, very happy with it.
So how much does that run, Leo?
They're more like $1,500. They're not bad.
Yeah, and I can go do a test drive here in Seattle, and I could rent it for a day, I think.
Do you want an off-road or you want a city bike?
I'm just a city person. I got knees and other issues, so I can't do the hills. I'm too old for the hills with my current set of health and recommendations. So Seattle, known for hills, as you'll see next week, I believe.
I will. This is what I have. The Rad City
do mountain bike, but
step through. Rough. These are great. Get a step through. Oh. It's not a girl's bike. It's just an easy to get on bike.
For us old guys.
And I haven't seen these other ones. And then I got a basket for mine, so I can go to the grocery store and get a big old basket on that thing. It's great.
Toto
in the basket.
Stay away from
him. But Lisa has the big fat tire. Off-road, the Rad Rover, and she loves that bike. That's a great-looking bike. But again, we've had to replace the brake pads after a year of use and stuff like that. There's just little maintenance things you have to do. But they work great.
So how does it work? You can just turn on the power and not pedal at all on a big hill?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pedal assist mostly.
Well, so there's 2 ways you can do an e-bike. You can do pedal assist, which means you have to pedal. Or it won't go anywhere. The Specialized is like that. Most of the bikes I get, including all the Rad Powers, have throttles. So you can just push the throttle and go forward. A steep hill, you're going to have to pedal. You're going to have to help it. It doesn't have so much.
Yeah, that's what I'm right.
It can get you up a steep through. But
we had the city full of e-bikes here. You know, Seattle was one of the places where 5 or 7 companies deployed all those bikes at once, and then they moved into e-bikes. So I was able to test some of those, and I thought, wow, this is a whole different thing than, 15 years ago. And I saw people buying e-bikes and before lithium-ion batteries were reliable and all that. And I felt like, gotta get into this. I want to get out more and less driving.
If you are going to, if you have, your kids are a little older now. If I had little kids, they have Rad Power bikes for kids. That you put the kids on the back. They have cargo bikes. This Rad wagon, you could pull cargo behind you. This is for a kid to sit on the back.
I have a friend in the Netherlands who she had 4 children, and the Netherlands is very flat
they
and
love their
super
bikes.
bike friendly.
Yeah.
She had the Bakfiets, the cargo bike, and she would take. I saw pictures of her with her 4 small children driving them all around the big cargo thing. Yeah. And I was like, "How fast can you go?" And she's like, "Well, like 5 miles an hour, but that's all we need. Everything's close together. It's all fine."
I see families on their Rad Powers all over town.
Oh, that's
really cute. They're really it's really cute. I love it. I'm a big fan. I just wish it were safe. because it really isn't safe to bicycle anywhere around here.
Yeah, I live on country roads, 2-lane roads out here, and yellow line roads, and
Hardhead, they have scooters. Hardhead and Nowhere, they have scooters. They wanted to bike what you had because they saw them at your house, but they ended up getting scooters and they love those things.
Oh, those are great. Perfect for
more
their
portable
age.
too, I know, right?
Yeah, they can really just throw them anywhere and lock them up.
Michael used to take the smart train, the light rail, to close to school, and then he'd bring a scooter and he'd get on his scooter and go the extra mile to school. He did that all through high school. It was really great. Did you want to plug this battery quick charger too?
Yeah. This is a funny story because I was talking to Mr. Nielsen earlier. I needed to get a new V-mount battery to put on my video camera that I'm talking to right now because I'm starting to do some more video work. And the reason I got away from V-mount batteries because they were too big and bulky. So I was using what's called these NPF batteries. So they're smaller, lighter, just don't have a ton of power. But when you go to charge them up, this battery right here, it takes about 12 hours to get it a full charge.
It's a big old battery.
12 daggum hours. And I have one that's smaller than that, and it still takes it about 8 hours to charge. Well, this here is from ZG Cine. It's an NPF battery charger that's a quick charger. It uses USB-C PD. So if you get something like what we talked about earlier with Nomad sponsor and, having a GAN charger, plug it up to that, it will cut that time in half, if not more. I charged this NPF, I think this one was about 2.5 hours. It charged up full.
Wow.
So, and it's only $30 for that. So I was like, get those. And it came with these nice, pretty cables too, because y'all know I love orange.
So V-mount means the battery is mounted kind of on top of the camera, not inside the camera.
This is a V-mount battery right here. It's called a V-mount because it locks into a plate that's shaped like a V.
So what do you do with the battery? You don't use the internal battery at all on the camera?
Correct, because cinema batteries on the internal side are so weak.
Yeah, they don't last very long. Yeah.
No.
So you put that on top, and how do you tell the camera that it's getting the juice from that battery?
You can use a DTAP connection, or if it depends on your camera, you can use USB.
So they're designed
out.
to do this. They understand that you're doing it somewhere else. Cool. All right. Very good. Ant Pruitt is our photographer extraordinaire at Hands On Photography, but he has another job. We love the job he's doing as community manager of the Club Twit. We want to get you in Club Twit because it's very important to us in our success. Club Twit supporters help us launch new shows, help us do amazing things, help us, buy kangaroo steak, all of the above. And of course, you get a benefit too. Not only do you get access to our Club Twit Discord, which is a great time. It's a social event all by itself. Chat rooms about each show, about many nerdy topics. We don't yet have a flong room, but I think we might create one. There is a room about books.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, but not flong yet. Food, gaming, hacking, ham radio, philosophy, science, software, and sport, all in there. You also get access to the Twit Plus feed, which I think is soon going to have a feature segment on my ceiling gushing forth. I don't know. I think we caught that on video, apparently. All the stuff that doesn't make it to the shows and ad-free versions of all the shows, and that's only $7 a month.
Yeah,
$84 a year. Get the year plan, and you don't have to think about it for 12 months. Twit.tv/clubtwit. That makes a good gift, too, by the way, for family and friends. If you know somebody who loves Twit, this is a great way to help us and give them a gift I think they'll enjoy. Twit.tv/clubtwit. Corporate memberships also available. We do This Week in Tech every Wednesday. Nope. This week in Google.
This is Google. I know we actually did talk about Google a fair amount.
Kind of
so you should remember that.
It's kind of the Twit cousin show. It's the cousin.
It's the little kids table.
Yeah. Well, I don't think so. I mean, when you get great people. By the way, I should thank you, Glenn Fleischman. You're always a pleasure to have on. You did double duty this week. Glenn.fun is his website, GLENN.FUN. You can learn all about his appearances on Jeopardy and his book passion and all the stuff that he does. He's a regular at Macworld. In fact, he does the Mac 911 column at Macworld, which is a much needed and very useful column. And it's just a hell of a genial fella. It's so nice to get you
very
on.
much.
Thank you for being here for Stacy. We
Pleasure.
appreciate it. Thanks also to, of course, we have a new credit for you, actually, Jeff. Right? What was it you were saying?
Uh-oh.
No. He said, now I've forgotten. I was going to make sure that it got into your credits. Something he said earlier. Now I've forgotten.
The committee that he was on? Is that the...
No, I never mentioned that. We try not
He tries a lot of high-level working group on content moderation, freedom of expression on the internet.
Talk about that.
That's the one I was thinking of.
I've forgotten what it was. He is the director of the Town Knight Center for Entrepreneurial Journalism at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York. Frank Sinatra called him a bum. Ray Kroc called him a nickel millionaire.
Nickel millionaire.
Alan Thicke begged me to stop making him my whipping boy.
Yeah.
Alan Thicke.
Alan Thicke. There's a name.
Well, Alan
you won't
Thicke.
hear
I'm
a
sorry. I
lot.
beg your pardon. Now. Oh, wow.
Jay
Thicke
Leno
of the
wondered
night.
why I was so mean.
Wow.
There was another credit. I really was trying to. Oh man, he mentioned it.
Chat room, what was it?
What was it? I'm trying to remember.
Worst I ever got is the art director of Time Magazine called me up and yelled at me, but I didn't even work for Time Magazine at the time. It was very
What did you do?
I worked on the, I don't think you can see it in this view if I have to turn my camera. I worked on the Ted Turner Man of the Year cover back in, was that 92?
Wow.
And I was working for Kodak. We had this place up in Maine called the Kodak Center for Creative Imaging. And we had some of the most advanced equipment under one roof. And so photographer Gregory Heisler, fantastic award-winning photographer, had come up and taught some classes and done some stuff. And he said, hey, can I come up and do this secret project? And we said, sure. My boss said, sure. And he came up and one of my good friends, who's one of the people I managed there, she worked with him for a couple weeks straight, and he kept asking for more hard drives. So I'd come in and help and consult on, we're using Letraset Color Studio to produce this. This was Photoshop and Letraset Color Studio.
Dude.
We were scanning film. I had to keep pulling out 500 megabyte drives and chaining them together. It was an incredible effort. We exceeded the capacity of technology at the time to produce it, but it was running late. And so instead of calling Greg, who was the high-paid, wonderful photographer, really lovely guy, the art director called me, got my number from someplace, and yelled at me. And I said, "Look, I'm just plugging hard drives in. I'm just plugging hard drives in.
I'm not important.
The art director said, what's a hard drive?
Is it because you had all this compositing to do with all these other images?
Oh my God, there was so much compositing.
Yeah.
It was, we were scanning all these slides from frames, all those images in the cover you see there. This is the Time of the Year. They were all individual frames taken from CNN, and Greg had shot Ted Turner. The next year, Greg got in trouble because he shot the two faces of George Bush. That's George H.W. Bush. And he did it in camera. So he had a large format 2.5-inch camera, I think it is, right? 2-inch, the film camera. And he shot Bush is two profiles simultaneously in camera and got temporarily banned from the White House, and the White House press corps had to go and stand up for him because they said editorial opinions are not something you ban people for in this country. Strange.
Right.
Wow. That's kind of wild.
Wow.
Yeah, back in the
Have you
days
been
when I
to
used to hang around with photographers.
Yeah.
Like
Have you been to the printing museum?
Hey.
Hey there.
Have you been to the printing museum in Haverhill, Mass?
Top of my list. I haven't been there.
You haven't been still yet?
remarkable-
Oh, folks.
It's been a pandemic, Jeff. You haven't heard about it, but there's been a pandemic.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, right.
So why did the Two Faces cover get him in trouble?
Well, he
It was an
did it.
editorial.
Yeah, he did it there. He did it. So in camera, he literally composed. This is how brilliant a photographer. Brilliant
This
technically.
is
and
brilliant.
that was shot in. So there's no
one frame
manipulation
of
there.
film, you open the shutter
Yes.
twice, one
Exactly.
position left, one position right.
Look at that. I mean,
That's
that's
hard
an
to do.
incredible
Yeah.
compositional thing. And they were really mad that he had done it essentially in front of Bush. And he was following a brief given to him by Time, not, it's the Time Men of the Year were the two faces of George Bush, or the two Bushes.
Pretty badass.
Rather rude. Yeah.
Wow.
I know, isn't that?
That
It's,
is
and
pretty
he wasn't being a
badass.
jerk. He was doing his job, and he was, just like a writer taking notes might say George Bush is two-faced. He did it with visual.
Shoot, I don't need no layer mask. Just give me the camera. He said.
Ironically, nowadays it'd be easy to do, but to do it in camera was tough.
Who has large format film anymore?
Yeah, that's
Not
right.
very many people.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. We do This Week in Google every Wednesday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2100 UTC. You can watch us live if you wish at live.twit.tv. There's also an audio stream there. You can listen and watch live. Chat with us live at irc.twit.tv. After the fact, on-demand versions of the show available at twit.tv/twig. Also, there's a YouTube channel dedicated to This Week in Google. You could subscribe, of course. That's probably the easiest thing to do in your favorite podcast player and get it automatically the moment it's available. The conversation continues after the show on our forums at twit.community. Lots of great conversations there. It's free to join.
I like hanging out in there.
It's good. Ant's in there on a regular basis. That's our forums. We also have a Mastodon instance, which is a lot of fun too, and you can join that easily too. That's at twit.social. Those are both open to all. That's it for this edition of This Week in Google. We'll see y'all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The world is changing rapidly. So rapidly, in fact, that it's hard to keep up. That's why Micah Sargent and I, Jason Howell, talk with the people making and breaking the tech news on Tech News Weekly every Thursday. They know these stories better than anyone, so why not get them to talk about it in their own words? Subscribe to Tech News Weekly, and you won't miss a beat every Thursday at twit.tv.